Welcome back. As I wait my guests to get ready, let me attempt to bring you my take. Immediately they start to come in, I'll stop and then direct you to read my write-up for this particular take on my Joy Online. I title it A Critique of the Injunction Ruling for Trials in the Legal Vacation. So the Supreme Court's ruling delivered yesterday by His Lordship Gabriel Scott Poamang JSC, sitting as a single justice in the injunction application against the Chief Justice's two vacation courts with warrants in July, offers a fascinating window into public law jurisprudence. The court's analysis correctly highlights the importance of public interest, discretion, and the constitutional mandate under Article 19(1) for expeditious trials. Trials ought to be within a reasonable time. However, when examined through the lens of courtroom mechanics and the settled conventions of the bar, two critical observations at pages 9 and 10 of the ruling reveal a stark disconnect between theoretical legal principles and the practical realities of litigation practice. His Lordship's independent mind and scholarship is celebrated by the bar, and I did not have expectations his decision will align with any opinion, however popular within the bar, as popular as I have earlier expressed on this subject. In fact, the other title I intended to give for this article was a critique of the ruling in terms of judicial discretion, operational realities, and the myth of voluntary vacation. The myth of voluntary vacation. Number one, he says that the lawyers are independent service providers. That assumption doesn't work. In dismissing the argument that compelling lawyers to attend court during the recess infringes on their right to satisfactory working conditions and health under Article 24, the court observed, quote, "For the lawyers, they are independent service providers in court proceedings who are free to plan their leave at any time of the year. Being independent service providers, the responsibility for ensuring compliance with Article 24 is in the hands of individual lawyers," end quote. While it is legally accurate that a private legal practitioner is an independent contractor rather than a salaried employee governed by statutory labor leave, well, this is actually the case for some lawyers, though. Suggesting that a trial lawyer has the freedom to simply, quote, "plan their leave at any time of the year" overlooks the judicial docket function. During the 10-month legal term, litigation lawyers do not possess the luxury. We have no option at all. We do not have the authority to dictate a court's calendar. Hearing notices are issued, firm trial dates are fixed, and the courts sit continuously across all the tiers, from the lower to the superior. A lawyer cannot, I repeat, a lawyer cannot unilaterally freeze a court's dockets in March, in May, or in November to proceed on personal leave. It's just impossible. The lawyer cannot decide any time that they are taking their leave within the 10 months when the courts are in active session. So the statutory long vacation under Order 79 Rule 4 of CI 47 exists precisely because it provides the only predictable institutional window during which the superior courts naturally pause. They are on vacation. This structural lull allows practitioners to take necessary rest. We attend local and international bar conferences and restructure firm operations without placing our clients and their cases in jeopardy. So treating counsel or the lawyers as if they operate in a flexible open market where they can, at will, they have the option to pause court proceedings at will, does not fully reflect the non-negotiable nature of court schedules during the term time. One important thing, His Lordship, the court, acknowledge the fact, quote unquote fact, it's a fact, undisputable. No practicing lawyer, no lawyer in active practice, they don't even have to be in active practice, will dispute this fact unless they are on a propaganda that has no principles. The courts acknowledge the fact that legal vacations or lawyers are not compelled to do trials during legal vacations, and yet it ignored that it is a compulsion. So turning to the long-standing convention or practice of recess sittings or vacation sittings, the court explicitly conceded a key factual reality on page 10 of the ruling. Quote, the fact that lawyers and accused persons involved in criminal proceedings in the High Court usually do not, underline that, usually do not undertake hearings during legal vacations ought not be to be the reason why an interlocutory injunction ought to be granted against the Chief Justice and stopping the expeditious hearings of cases. Here, the ruling rightly acknowledges what every active lawyer, as I said, every active trial lawyer knows to be true. Criminal trials in the High Court are, by settled practice, not undertaken during the legal vacation. Yet, after admitting this factual baseline, the court declines to address the logical consequence of breaking that baseline, the element of real procedural compulsion. If the established convention is that in the superior courts, substantive trials pause during recess or the vacation, issuing a directive or warrant requiring a part-head criminal trial to proceed throughout August and September strips the lawyer of any voluntary choice. A lawyer faced with such an order is trapped in a difficult dilemma. One, if that lawyer appears, their statutory and conventional right to leave, rest, and professional planning is completely destroyed. Two, if the lawyer declines to appear in order to observe the vacation, the client's right to representation is compromised, or the client is coerced into self-representation during a critical, phase of the case. Calling such attendance voluntary, as the court said, voluntary, under the guise of being an independent service provider is difficult to sustain. I'm certain about that. By framing the Chief Justice's warrants, the two of them, solely as mechanisms to promote expeditious justice, the ruling does not fully engage with the fact that requiring full substantive trials during the vacation represent a significant departure from the very known practice it acknowledged in the judgment. In my respectful opinion, the argument by some that the accused may hire new counsel or that the law firms handling these oral and or OSP cases have many lawyers who may be delegated to in the circumstances does not take account of the constitutional imperative for the rights of the accused to counsel of their own choice. I must state that the administration of justice is undeniably served when cases are resolved expeditiously. However, expedition or expeditious justice must never be pursued at the expense of procedural fairness, of the fiscal well-being of those who operate the system. While the ruling firmly protects administrative discretion in public law, its underlying premises on pages 9 and 10 create an unworkable standard for practitioners. That I'm setting about. A fatigued bench and a bar cannot maintain the high standards required for sound justice until administrative reforms formally adjust how vacation rosters are structured respecting the long-established conventions of the legal vacation and honoring the exercise of trial judges' discretion, as the Chief Justice said, and Articles 23 and 296 to indulge counsel remains the true safeguard of our legal architecture. And that's by way of my take. I'll be right back. Okay, so I understand that I should go straight ahead and to engage with my guest for this morning. Now, my guest this morning, Ben Boakye, he was with us last week to deal with the very important matters regarding the judgment or verdict against Mr. Beko Asante. And today, of course, as you know, he has expertise in the energy sector. That's the area where his organization, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, has been doing a lot of work. So Ben Boakye is already on. Senor Jose, convener of the One Ghana Movement, finance and economic policy analyst, is also supposed to join us. Kofi Bento should be here. Atai Isa should also be here. Andre Japamesa is here in the building. Sami Jamfi is also around. So, Ben, this, blackout nationwide, 2 times in short intervals. Is there a hidden crisis we are not being told about? What is happening?
Thanks, Samson, and good morning to the team and everyone listening or watching. Yes, I mean, it's quite disturbing to have this number of trips in a short period of time. That is also not to acknowledge that trips don't happen in electricity system. Even in the advanced world, you have some of these trips. But I think what is becoming alarming is the frequency that these trips are happening. We do understand that there's a major problem in Akosombo that Greco and the team are trying to fix to be able to increase protection so that when some fault happens, we don't have a nationwide trip. But beyond that also are some system problems that we need to pay attention to. We have a blend of 161 network and 330 kV line network. What that means is that you have a very high voltage lines connecting with medium voltage, if you like, or high voltage but smaller lines in the network. So when you have generations plants giving so much load on the 330 kV line and the 330 kV line fails, the possibility of transferring all that load onto the 161 becomes really high, and that also could trip the entire system. So I don't know, I'm sure some work is being done. The minister had indicated that they're going to look into it. We need to really find an immediate solution for making sure that we can isolate some generation plants quickly when the 330 kV line trips, because it becomes difficult for the 161 to carry all the load when that happens. And then also because there isn't much protection at the switch yard, in Akosombo now, it hits the generation directly. So the generation then reacts and, cuts off. So that cascading effect is what's making us see a lot of nationwide blackouts instead of maybe an isolated blackout when there's a trip on a particular line and causing just few plants to go off. The entire nation has to go off because of the frequency imbalances that will be occasioned as a result. So we need to do some immediate isolation of the issues, look at the least cost contingencies that have to happen to make sure that we can really isolate some generation when the mega lines trip to avoid some of these nationwide blackouts. What we haven't taken seriously as a country is really look at the transmission infrastructure and its upgrades and be able to loop it completely. If we had another 330 line, perhaps coming from Akosombo, that would have been able to safely evacuate the power that was already on the 330 kV line. But because we still have the 161 coming from Akosombo, it becomes difficult for the 161 line to contain all the loads that are coming from the generation plants, particularly in the east, where we have a lot of gas turbines operating. So for me, that's what I'm seeing. There could be more to it. There could be more to it, and we need to really get to the bottom of it. What causes the trips of the 330 lines, which then cascades into what we are seeing, and then be able to address short-term, medium-term, and long-term options that are available.
As I mentioned earlier, this has happened twice in 1 month. You seem to suggest that we should take the minister for his word when he says that this is just a temporary phase and this will be done with shortly.
I mean, as far as I understand what is going on in Akosombo, the total blackout could be fixed if they do the switchyard there, but it wouldn't stop any line from tripping. So the investigations will have to be at different levels. What is causing the trips? Because it is a trip of the 330 kV line that cascades. So you have a bigger load moving onto a smaller line, and that causes the entire system to trip. So you really have to also address what is causing the trips on the 330 kV line. Because even if you fix Akosombo, that prevents a total collapse. But some parts will also collapse if there are consistent trips. So we need to really isolate the issues, be able to address, the issues that are causing the trips and address them. There could be some minor ones, some could be major, some could be some ground faults, earthing systems. If they do that audit, they should be able to isolate the causes and be able to address them. Even with a 161 line, if the 330 does not trip, you're not going to have the 161 also tripping. So we have to go down to the bottom of the issue, address, how these trips happen, and perhaps do some investment to be able to isolate some few plants immediately there is those disturbances so that it doesn't cascade to the entire network to cause a nationwide. We
live in a governance culture where we appear to be very accommodating of leadership when it comes to holding them accountable for the things they must do. Since the development in Akosombo, it's been how long? And we're still being told we should bear with the government, this will be fixed.
Yeah, I think it's been almost 2 months or so.
Yeah, imagine the cost to homes and industries that get affected by these nationwide blackouts.
That I agree is disturbing, but constructing a switchyard also takes time. From where I sit, that complete burnt situation shouldn't have happened. There was some lapses that made that happen. But once it happened, it will certainly take time to bring in a new switchyard. That I understand is being done. There is a contingency measure to use the protection from Akosombo itself, the generation system, which is being used. But if there is that backflow, certainly the generation system will want to protect itself, so it will shut down. And that is what we are seeing now. If we are able to fix that, the switchyard would then be able to take on the hit if there's a trip. That also will cause a trip anyways, because the generation would still be isolated at the switchyard. So we need to be able to fix the smaller issues that are actually causing the trips and begin to look at the lines that we need to replace or need to upgrade, whether we will need to upgrade the entire pylons, or there are some of the pylons that can take the conductors and be able to quickly deploy them. Those can be done by reviewing the infrastructure already in place to be able to see what level of investment will be required to retool the transmission lines to make it much more robust.
All right.
To prevent some of these recurrent
All right, Ben, hold on.
Blackouts.
Hold on for me, and I come to Ejapamesa. Ejapamesa, you were in this ministry. Do we take the Minister for Energy and Green Transition's word? Dr. John Jinapo, he says that he's sure that by next month we will switch back to the original plan and we will have a much more resilient power supply situation, even though Ben has a bit of some concern around the approach.
Well, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers.
And I've observed something very interesting, very, very interesting, that the NDC is very patient and accommodating when the power goes off. In fact, they don't blame anybody or run around shouting doomsaw or anything like that. But the NPP and its members, who not long ago were requiring the same accommodation of government when this happens, are very impatient.
But you haven't even heard me speak.
I'm telling you an observation.
I've been there, so I know. And it's interesting that you reference NDC now being tolerant. You should reference the minister, who, especially when we're in government, he had the benefit of having been a deputy minister for power prior to us coming into government. So he knew the issues. But he was almost always the first to go on radio and TV to do propaganda. Now he's in the seat. And the reality is hitting him. It's all a question of resources. I mean, Ben has aptly stated the issues. Okay, we have extremely old transmission infrastructure. Governments over the years have tried to replace some of them. It's not complete. There's still a lot of work that has to be done. I'm not so sure whether the switch yard that got bent on 29 June thereabout itself had seen any replacement since it was installed. Okay, and we need to be informed as to whether indeed and in fact that switch yard or control room had seen some rehabilitation right from the very beginning when this thing was put in place. Okay, and so yes, I am, because of the fact that I've been there before, I'm not going to play the politics game, because you never know. Tomorrow, I may be back there, and these issues, to the extent that we are unable to find the resources to invest in the transmission infrastructure to carry our power from point A to B, will still persist. I will give him the benefits of the doubt. He's indicated to the people of Ghana that hopefully by next month, we'll see some improvement in the power situation. I hope that the requisite investment is being put in there. Where they're going to get the resources from is not indicated. I'm not sure whether Greco itself can finance this on its balance sheet. And so that clarity ought to be provided. I've heard the deputy ranking member of the Energy Committee make a call for the minister to brief the Energy Committee extensively on the issues and what it is that they are doing to resolve it.
Is that necessary?
Or, yeah, it may be. He will have the platform to provide some better particulars that would inform the conversation, as far as I'm concerned. So, by all means, Parliament and the Energy Committee provide
you
oversight.
mentioned that it boils down to money. If he came to
boils down to money
and told you that what I need really is money, we know the debts that ECG has to, the energy sector has to contend with. Parliament, are you going to say, outside of the budget, you're going to give him some money or something to fix problems?
It's the government that has to prioritize. You recall we had this conversation before. The resource envelope is such that the government of the day is the one that makes allocations based on its priorities. And so you see the government prioritizing building 24-hour markets, for example. Okay, whether it is good deployment of our resources, I'm not so sure. But that's the priority of the government. And so if the government's priority is to fix the transmission infrastructure, then the government has to make allocation to ensure that that system is improved so Ghanaians can have stable power. So the minister should be able to go to Parliament, or maybe their government accountability series that they've been holding, to inform Ghanaians of what steps concrete that they're actually taking to ensure that we enjoy power.
He's done that. Power. He doesn't need accountability series, does he? Kofi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think?
So we fall into these problems. And sometimes when you compare yourself, for instance, to our Nigerian brothers and others in West Africa, they are like, why are you people complaining? Because, you have it so much better. But we should not be comparing ourselves to those. I am using this to say, if there is no good excuse for having these problems, we should not have them. And what the Japa is saying is to the effect that we have sufficient knowledge. And I'm telling you, I know some of the people who work there. We have very good people, very competent engineers.
You always say this.
I know them. I don't want to mention names. Okay? But here's the thing. Leadership is always an issue. The last time I studied and I commended leadership, this is where I'm going. There are different kinds of sciences, right? There are social sciences, okay, sociology, those things. There are pseudosciences like economics. You are not sure whether it's a science or not, there's an argument. And then there are perfect sciences. Physics is the most perfect science. That thing is engineering, electrical engineering. Why am I saying what I'm saying? We know all the problems. We know what the solutions are. We know where to buy the equipment. We know how much they cost. So the question is, why can't we prioritize and solve this? Because look, around Kolebu, the lights went off. The lights went off. And immediately I was like, oh my God, somebody may die. And that one, you can't get him back. So, look, what is it that prevents us from closing these gaps? We heard about the blowout. Accidents are accidents. Quickly, we mobilized the same group of people. They fixed the problem. And now we've sat down and I'm hearing that this problem is connected to the previous one. What happened within the time? So, my point is this. I don't think we have an excuse as Ghanaians. We are very excellent people. When it comes to all of this, we are capable. Our leaders should put together what is necessary and just fix these problems because they are fixable. Physics is a perfect science. Electrical engineering is physics. If you know your mathematics, if you know what you are doing, you know what equipment to buy, whatever it is, let's put the money in. And Ejapa is right. I worry about how we are prioritizing expenditure in this economy right now. And the example I was going to give is what he gave. You are breaking down markets to build markets. All right? And there's significant investment going there. Okay? We are spending a lot of money setting up 24
hours. That thing seriously doesn't make sense.
Can you imagine?
24-hour economy. We are building
breaking markets to build
24-hour markets.
You know?
The markets will bring the 24-hour.
The last time I heard,
when we have existing markets that don't operate 24 hours.
The last time I heard,
pulled down schools.
They were
Johnny Kolendi's alma mater was pulled down. Other places, banks are crying. They're being pulled down.
Okay. So my point is, I think we can find the resources if we prioritize this thing well and solve it.
Ataisa, MP for Sagnarigo and member the Ghana Airport Company Limited Board, Finance and Trade Committees of Parliament. The guy who's been giving a lot of people work to do these days. What do you say?
All right. So good morning to you, Samson, and to my senior colleagues here, and to your viewing public. I think that accountability is good, like you talked about leadership. And let me commend the Energy Minister. You rightly said it, the approach he has adopted. Sometimes when there are trips or power outs in our communities, the discomfort it causes and slowing down of businesses and the rest. So always quick to give information to the Ghanaian public, sometimes in a way of giving hope back to the people. So to that end, we are an emerging market that is now trying to usher ourselves into a new phase of economic revolution. So some of these things are expected. We can't have it 100%. Like you rightly said, you have been there before, and we have always known the investments that are required. Look, this document I have from the World Bank, we stated that ECG, GRIDCO...
So when I saw that, I thought it was the critical pages of the IMF report.
No. They were of the view that, and in fact, this has also been agreed upon by ASEP, and I'm sure when you go back to him, he will confirm. We require about $200 million annually to invest in the power sector. So because the legacy debt payment or deferred capital investment, we've been deferring, like he's saying that prioritize. But you have a revenue envelope that has other critical needs.
We are collecting the money too.
Yeah. So apart from the delayed capital investment, the World Bank also postulated that if you do the right investment, the revenue or the financing gap, that is the revenue and the recoveries, is also a problem. So yes, we are paying or we are investing, but when we invest the money and we are unable to collect all the money, it creates a deficit. And look at what the IMF, for example, has said that GRIDCO revenue under recovery is constrained investment in critical transmission infrastructure. So what it means is that when you invest the right amount of money into the sector and you have difficulties in recovering those monies, then you create a deficit. In fact, if you look at the transmission losses of GRIDCO alone, and to your viewers, look at the table. It tells you the level of shortfalls that we have been getting, though it's on the decline from 2022. But the point I'm trying to say is that we always invest so much money in making sure that we improve the sector, but transmission losses and under recovery in terms of financing gap always provide difficulties in the sector. But we have to also commend the minister and the finance ministry, because if you look at the quantum of money that have been pumped into the energy sector through retiring some of the legacy debts, is mind-boggling. In 1 year, over $1.43 billion. And also restoration of the IMF $500 million that was set aside in the past. You come to one conclusion that some effort are being done. And the minister was very honest to say that, yes, he acknowledged the problem, but if you look at the June 29th incident, it required not an immediate solution. You cannot restore power infrastructure overnight. From June 29th to this time, they have started working on something. And he has given us a timeline that by September, we will see some temporary relief. But even after the September, like he indicated, we should still expect some, once a while, we'll get some of these things until the permanent solution is done. Okay. So I am comforted by the words of the minister. I also support the cause that he should come to brief Parliament, because we are the people's representative. Maybe there are some questions that people have to ask, or suggestions that people have to do. Fortunately, November, we'll be doing the 2027 budget. So if the right answers are provided and Parliament sees the genuineness in the presentation by the minister, I think that this will be an avenue for Parliament to insist on the Minister of Finance to make more resources available to the Energy Ministry. And I am happy you acknowledge that we are being more tolerant than before. I think at a point, we asked Bobo and his party to give us timetable, and they said we should prepare our own. This time around, the Energy Minister, every time always on the media to explain, meeting the relevant stakeholders to explain, and all this explanation will mean nothing.
As for explaining, they were also doing so.
Oh.
So how I wish that the way you have been accommodating and even applauding, how I wish you guys can carry this kind of, constructive way of looking at issues when you are in opposition.
Yeah, that should be the standard.
Because if you were in opposition, your story this morning would have been completely different.
No.
It would have been about incompetence and so on and so forth. Hello, Ben. Yes, Ben, what would be...
learn from me.
Yeah, what would be your closing remarks on how we move forward?
No, I think you made a very important point, something about governance and reporting accurately what the situation is. And I think we can give that to the minister for telling us what the problem is. We're not getting conflicting signals from the system, either from GRIDCO workers or any other person, that what the situation is different from what we've been told. And that, for me, is remarkable. But we need to do the investments that are required to fix the problem. We can't fix everything at the same time, and therefore we must expect some of these blackouts once in a while. But what perhaps will be necessary is to have a contingent team within GRIDCO that responds quicker to some of these faults when they happen, and then also have the right isolators to make sure that we reduce the cascading effect of one trip affecting every other generation system in the country, which then becomes very difficult to fix and bring back, onto the grid.
Thank you very much. And JJ joins us, Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapor, MP, Yape Kusogo, and Minister for Energy and Green Transition. John, good morning.
Brother.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, yeah?
I know.
Do you get to sleep? Enjoy your sleep?
Well, it's not easy. And sometimes, the president calls you around 2 a.m., so it's not easy.
Oh, no.
But just a quick one.
All right.
Ordinarily, we shouldn't have blackouts more than 2 in a year. And Ejepa or other colleagues there would confirm. But we have a peculiar situation we are dealing with. You recall the fire incident at Akosombo. When I visited them, we had two options. Some of the engineers thought that we should wait and restore the control center before we supply power. Some also said we could do a temporary arrangement with some relays and feed the power directly from Akosombo all the way to Tema, so that they will use the Tema control room to support the system. I thought that shutting down Akosombo for 6 months was untenable. So we opted for the temporary arrangement. So that arrangement is not very robust. But given the circumstance that we find ourselves, we thought that even with the fragility, that was the best option. So the two major incidents we've had, all of them traces back to the temporary arrangement.
Yes, that point has been made. Yeah.
Supported it. But fortunately, we've already done 4. We are left with 2. And my briefing is that next month, the other 2 will be completed. When that is completed, then we would revert to the original arrangement and use that system. Second one is the investment. It is true. The energy sector needs investment, no doubt about that. And the investment must also go into the critical areas, not just investment. One problem we had was when we went into the IMF program, almost all the energy sector SOEs, including GRIDCO and VRA, were put under the cap. So VRA couldn't raise financing, GRIDCO couldn't raise financing. Fortunately, because we are out, the minister has now indicated that he would support us. And so I hope that we're able to get that support so we can invest in the grid. The grid is not the strongest. We still have some challenges with the grid, and we must invest, particularly the line between Kumasi and Accra. It's so critical. We need to do that line so that we can have redundancies. If we have a problem, we can use another line.
So your timeline is concrete. By the end of which month, all of this will be over? It will not recur?
Next month, we should have the Akosombo control station back in service so that we can now evacuate power direct from Akosombo.
Okay. JJ, thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother.
We wish you the very best. So that's Dr. John Abdullahi Junapol, who is Minister for Energy and Green Transition, helping us to situate the issues a lot better. The national power system experienced a major fault on the Akosombo Volta transmission line. That's what GRIDCO had informed us, and that the fault triggered automatic tripping of the Akosombo generating unit, and some thermal generating plants also tripped, leading to what we encountered on Thursday at 4:30 a.m. Right. In a month, we have seen 2 of such blackouts. We will take a break and return. Sami Gentfi, CEO of the GOLDBOD, will have to answer some questions as to whether or not they are responsible for the 22 billion Ghana cedis loss reported by the IMF, or they are completely not connected at all. But before he comes, because we are going to be talking about gold issues, Galamsey, and water matters, this man here has been churning out some documentation and information about the Adamus situation, and has been very unhappy. I'm talking about Imani. They have been very unhappy about what Adamus had to face. And somehow it looks like their crusade has received some good attention from government. So yesterday, the government's spokesperson to the president and Minister for Government Communications issued a statement. Adamus Resources Limited gets reprieve from government. And the statement says the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Minerals Commission and Adamus Resources Limited have been asked by government to present a 12-month roadmap for turning the mine around. The roadmap will include a six-member management team formed between Adamus and government to supervise the turnaround of the mine. The membership of the committee will include 3 members from the Adamus side and 3 members from the government side. The agreement followed a meeting at the presidency aimed at resolving the dispute between the two parties to salvage what is one of a few operating indigenous large-scale mines. The roadmap will include a plan for settling liabilities by Adamus to Ghana Revenue Authority, Minerals Income Investment Fund, financial institutions, and suppliers. The roadmap will also include exploring means to inject fresh capital by inviting additional partners to take up equity in the mining operation. The two sides are expected to present the roadmap to the president in 2 weeks.
Well, once in a while, you have news like this, which is refreshing. See, my generation, we grew up to see factories in Ghana making cars, making televisions, Pioneer Tobacco, and we grew up to see industrial titans.
We grew up to see Sanyo.
We grew up to see so many things, especially the private persons, Siao and Co. But in our lifetime, we saw our own governments take them, rip them up, and destroy all of them. And at a point,
you have to name the government.
Governments.
Name them.
Oh, mostly the military governments, especially, from the NDC culture. But that's not the point. The point is our own and by the way, let me make the point. They were supported by our people. There were people on the street saying, let the blood flow. And we had a mindset as if every rich person, every major industrialist was a thief.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because some people don't remember those things. Now, we lived in an epoch where we couldn't find any serious Ghanaian major industrialists. Gradually, we are going back to building them up. Today, as we speak, you have people like Ibrahim Mahama venturing into mining, as a private Ghanaian individual, things we haven't thought about. Then you have people like Angela List, who has been there for over 10 years, has done a good job, and then she gets a problem like this. Why am I saying all that I'm saying? See, we will be judged by what we leave behind, not the excuses we give. So President Mahama should leave a legacy that says that when I came into government, there was no Ghanaian in major mining. But as I leave, we have Ghanaians holding gold fields, holding their mine, holding, Konongo and Co and Angela List. So I am grateful because I think, like I said, I made a post yesterday that one of the blessings of Ghana today is President Mahama. If you don't like it, I say so, it is true. Because he's handling this with the experience that you need. And this is the stuff that we need for our leaders to build. What was happening was somebody using the powers of regulation and what other powers they had. But essentially they were breaking down, tearing down, destroying something that a Ghanaian had built. I think our governments must be helping. And to that extent, I want to say thank you to President Mahama. Thank you to Akufo-Addo. And I speak like I'm an official of Adamus. I am on their case because as far as I'm concerned, they have not fought hard enough. I have been told why. But at the end of the day, I hope they take the opportunity they have been given. Make sure that you answer all the questions that are being asked satisfactorily. And make sure you do the things that are being suggested. Infuse more money, better management, and have a good mind that we Ghanaians can be proud of. So this is the right way.
So Kofi, why wasn't this the first approach rather than the approach that's revoking their leases and leading to all the brouhaha that followed it? And we're told about, the breaches that they allegedly had committed, and according to the minister or his committee, what they found was just a tip of the iceberg.
That was a mistake. And that is what made my blood boil. I keep telling people I've never met Angela List. Okay, I was like, how do you revoke somebody's mine they've run? And by my calculation, in that mine alone, there was about $200 million invested. In a matter of 1 week. Okay, and like I'm saying, your job as government is not to destroy. Even if you have regulatory powers, you use it to help. And the law says give them time to, fix the problems and whatever it is. And I make the point which I will never depart from, that when the person is a Ghanaian, bend backwards to help them. Let me tell you something. I have found through my interaction that the average Ghanaian, and I was telling you, Ejapa, that when the businesses were being collapsed, Ghanaians were supporting it. Today it has turned. I almost didn't find anybody who felt that no matter what the people had done, they should be, their license should be revoked. Ghanaians, average Ghanaians, are very, 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 very upset when a Ghanaian business is collapsing. That thing should be clear. So see, that earlier approach was a mistake. And President Mahama has corrected it. Look, if that mine had gone down, you'd have heard of it in the next election. And if this mine is sustained and remains, it will become a legacy that President Mahama can forever claim.
It's a 1-year lease of life. They have an extension they've been giving, but they are not in control anymore.
Oh, not really. I mean, it's a 1-year lease. 1 year is a good time to answer the questions. You may not solve everything, but you can put yourself on the road to health, all right? And again, see, it's a failure of the government in power if major Ghanaian businesses collapse. So no matter what this person is doing, I'm not saying that they should be allowed to commit crimes and do whatever
if they are owing royalties in excess of 86 million, Ghana cedis, if they are owing taxes to the revenue in excess of in hundreds.
That is one side of the story. I can tell you also what I'll find out. There were VAT owes them a certain amount of money in, for instance, VAT returns. So see, and by the way, if anybody is owing money, it's not a crime. You sit down, you schedule it. The person is mining gold, all right? And the gold mine can't run away. So I was saying, a failure of a major business is a failure of the government.
Okay.
So they should help them set up. And by the way, if push comes to shove and nothing can be done about it, you don't collapse the mine.
Okay.
You can change ownership. Let the mine continue. Another Ghanaian can take over. Find a way to pay off. Leadership can go, ownership can go, equity can come in, the workers can continue to work, the mine can continue to operate, but it will remain a Ghanaian mine. I will close with this. The success of this mine will be a feather in the cap of this government. The failure of this mine will be against the legacy of President Mahama and this government. So they've done a good thing. I hope the mine, the government, and whoever is involved should deploy all the powers available to them to make this stand. And to that extent, every other mine that a Ghanaian is managing, we should help them.
I need to take a break, but before I do that, if you have the opportunity to make a statement in one sentence about the GOLDBOD situation, what will that statement be?
The GOLDBOD situation is a broad one. You mean the losses that have been attributed to them?
Yeah.
Let's come back.
What would you say?
I would say we should always keep the bigger picture in mind. GOLDBOD is a fantastic idea. It doesn't make sense that we're a gold mining country and we are mired in these losses and all the kinds of. So GOLDBOD is a fantastic idea. Whatever happens, we must keep it. However, every good thing comes with its issues, and we must navigate these issues properly. The biggest problem right now is the heat coming out of the discussion. And I'll tell you why we have the heat.
What I need from you before I take the break is to ask you the question, the claim or the controversy that it is responsible or partly responsible for the loss reported by IMF of 22 billion Ghana cedis. Is it fact or spin when the GOLDBOD said we're absolutely not anywhere close to being fixed with liability for the debt?
You said responsible or partly responsible. Then you ask, is it fact or absolutely? So you're using absolute words and not absolute words. Many things cannot be answered with a yes or no. If somebody asks you, have you stopped drinking? If you say yes, it means you used to be drinking. If you say no, so some things cannot be answered simply. But here's the point. If you have 3 sons and you send them into business, and 2 of them make a profit and 1 makes a loss, it is your loss. But you know which son caused the loss. However, it does not mean you killed that son. So for me, these are not simple things. For the first time in the history of this country, we've taken charge of our gold resources. And we are seeing the positives that can happen over it. We cannot pretend that it will not come with any problems. My problem with what is going on with GOLDBOD is the heat instead of light. We should be having explanations. We should be having clarity about how this thing works and then fix some of the problems around it and make the best out of this situation. Okay? The idea was not from even this government, but they've taken it further.
Even after Sammy spoke, held that press conference, you're still not sure if this is fact or spin?
You see, the IMF document itself discloses something very inherent, okay, in paragraph 14, right, which suggests that arising out of the losses that the Bank of Ghana incurred, which is attributed to the operations of the domestic gold purchase program, government has taken a decision to take the quasi-fiscal risk of Bank of Ghana to GOLDBOD. What does it mean? What it means to me is that there's a clear recognition that these losses itself shouldn't have been on the books of the Bank of Ghana in the first place. And so we are moving it to where it rightfully belongs, which is the books of the GOLDBOD.
That's what I mean.
Well, you may disagree, but that's clearly. Okay. Because, Samson, the question is...
Hold on, because that is very controversial, extremely controversial. Even look closely under what the IMF statement actually says.
No problem.
What you said is very controversial.
Let's come back.
Yes, in a minute. So,
no, we will have substantive time for it, isn't it?
I'm going to talk about this.
I'm reserving my comment at the right time, but I'll say that what we are being put to discuss is a spin, misreading of documentations, and lack of understanding. That's what I will say.
GOLDBOD is not responsible in any way.
In any way. And I'll just juxtapose it in a second. Look, LBCs at Cocoa Board buy cocoa from farmers, and they are paid margins of 12% of the cocoa value price. At no time have we ever asked that Cocoa Board should put the fees paid to LBCs for buying the cocoa as losses on the book of Cocoa Board. That's what I'll say.
We'll be right back. Just don't go anywhere. Sammy Jamfi is here. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. Sammy Jamfi, welcome to Newsfile.
Thanks for having me, Senior.
Very exciting, and people are so eager to see and hear you this morning. So let's get ready for this. As you know, Ghana is Africa's leading gold producer, and we are making it big on the international world stage. We are the 6th, on the world, and we are in the news. We are being spoken about as doing well in this regard. So what exactly is going on back home? Our status as a global resource powerhouse is undisputed. And as I said, we stand as Africa's largest gold producer, and recently we surged to 6th in the world, producing a record 5.94 million ounces in 2025, overtaking the United States. Gold accounts for over 60% of our merchandise exports, generating upwards $20 billion in annual export earnings. Yet, for decades, what have we experienced? There was systemic leakage, illicit trading, and cross-border smuggling that starved the state of its fair share. Between 2019 and 2023, independent estimates indicate Ghana lost over 220 tons of gold, worth $11.4 billion to smuggling alone. The landscape began to shift dramatically following major policy reforms in 2020. In 2023, nearly 50% of artisanal gold went unrecorded. By 2025, with formalization and the operational rollout of the Ghana GOLDBOD, official artisanal and small-scale mining export expanded to over 103 tons, capturing billions previously lost to parallel markets and helping propel national reserves past $13 billion while stabilizing the cedi. But what's the problem now? You already know. The minority raised issues on the back of an IMF report. First, here, Afenyo marking at a press conference.
Of last year, negative 6.7% of GDP. Our central bank is technically bankrupt, therefore. And the single biggest driver of that collapse in the 2025 was gold operations, GOLDBOD. GOLDBOD's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the $1.7 billion in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses.
That's the minority leader, Osahin Afenyo marking. Then he went into the studios with KSM for an interview. Listen to him again.
IMF for report essay GOLDBOD Aboka 22 billion cedis. That is $1.7 billion. In this IMF report, you say Washington actual report Abagana. They are not giving directive to government. There be. They always come and do review of yaya activities. Intino yaya books mu report yaya de momo. Or maybe some questions say, oh, so gold for a reserve say yina mo yano at saying then a moye mukoto gold in saying muton saying and for so ben aba based on a buying books and a report no so muye we are omodema buying sa buying. This is a draft report. Mpacho mun shem se bibi ni na enko yi a mo mun kyeremu na yeso yente e wase. This is the final report aban agiatum. And on my letter ma aban say omun take certain steps bi emfensi am. Wo for dia mi bi sane say ban saying how does government explain the IMF finance said the losses amounting to $1.7 billion, equivalent of 22 billion, and yet.
Right. So we have gone over the IMF reports, and let me pretend that I'm unaware of the fact-checking that was done by my Joy Online, the Joy FM, Joy News researchers, earlier when Abena Osei-Asare made these same claims. Let me pretend that I'm unaware of the second fact-checking that the research desk did recently over the same claims made by Afenyo marking. And let me pretend that I did not listen to Sami Jemfi. How do you respond to this? The 22 billion Ghana cedis, $1.7 billion. He says the IMF report says your outfit is responsible.
All right. Thank you very much, Samson, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers and the panelists in the studio. Samson, you know, for some time now, some of us have been very silent in the media space because of the enormity of the task entrusted us by His Excellency the President. I'm sure you've not heard me in the media for a long time.
That's right.
And even when people have made various allegations against the GOLDBOD, I mean, we've taken them in good faith as part of the principle of probity and accountability that public institutions must be subjected to. But when...
And I'll confirm that even where unverified, malicious allegations have been made against you and you have threatened to sue, I've had the opportunity to intervene and your lawyers have spoken to you and you have stayed back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But you see, Samson, somebody will ask, why is Sam Agency and the GOLDBOD speaking now? Why hold a press conference, and respond to this issue in the manner you have done? See, the reason is this. There is a difference between constructive criticism by opponents or critical voices and a deliberate, malicious disinformation campaign. A deliberate smear campaign, not grounded on facts or issues, but intended to denigrate personalities and institutions and demonize them in the eyes of right-thinking members of society. And that is why we've had to respond to this matter the way we have done. And I'm so happy that your producers have, right from the outset, placed the issue in the right perspective by playing an excerpt of statements that were made by Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin on KSM show. In that clip, you hear him make a categorical statement that the IMF has come out with a report, and in that report, the IMF says GOLDBOD aboka $1.7 billion.
And government has accepted it.
And government has accepted it. Something that he ought to know is false. And I'm so happy that multimedia, particularly your research team, have decided not to be neutral in this contest between truth and lie. Because most often than not, the media decides to be neutral and allow politicians to debate endlessly issues that are easily verifiable. And that is why I was so happy when you came out with that first fact check on Adlansare on that $214 million loss that she claimed had been put out by the BOG and later contradicted by a figure put out by the IMF. And that is why I was so happy when you also came out with your own verdict, fact check verdict, that it claimed by Afenyo-Markin that the IMF has said that the GOLDBOD has made a loss of $1.7 billion is false and misleading. Because this right here is the relevant portion of the IMF's seat and final review of Ghana's extended credit facility, which they published a few weeks ago. And if you check page 27, paragraph 50, this is what the IMF said about the domestic gold purchase program. It says the domestic gold purchase program weighed on the financial sustainability of the BOG. The DGPP on which the BOG relied to accumulate reserves and to intermediate effects to the private sector has generated losses of 22 billion, 1.5% of GDP in 2025. A government cost-sharing agreement at end 2025 involving the transfer of bonds with a par value of 5 billion cedis in March 2026 resulted in the breach of the ceiling on the BOG claims on the central government. And in July 2026, the BOG, GOLDBOD, and the government signed a memorandum of understanding formalizing the transfer of the domestic gold purchase program activities from the BOG to the GOLDBOD. And it goes on and on. Nowhere do they say in this report that the GOLDBOD has incurred a loss of $1.7 billion. And if you look at
significance.
Yeah, that is actually a different report. That one is a special report they did on selected issues.
That's right.
And if you look at page 10, paragraph 13,
we are projecting that for all of you to follow as well.
What they said is DGPP operations have generated significant losses for the BOG. Losses in 2024 when there was no GOLDBOD. and Sami Jenfi was sitting somewhere in opposition. Losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million, 0.5% of GDP. 1/3 of which were related to gold for oil, that is G4O. In 2025, the significant scaling up of the domestic gold purchase operations led to losses of over $1.7 billion, almost entirely related to the gold for reserves Dory purchases. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of gold sold, by the BOJ, and I'll come to that operative word, sold. Okay? So, and later on I'll read other portions of it. So you will see clearly that they say that this is a loss under domestic gold purchase program incurred by the Bank of Ghana and not the Gold Board. Now, Samson, to appreciate the dishonesty, okay, of the proponents of this false narrative, particularly Afenyo-Markin, you need to go back to what their earlier position on this matter was. In fact, in the last 3 months, the Gold Board has been a victim of this disinformation campaign right from the hallowed grounds of Parliament. Because anytime Afenyo-Markin has stood to speak on any matter, whether or not it has to do with the Gold Board, he always finds a way of bringing in the Gold Board and stating that Gold Board has made losses. And it was for that reason that at that press conference, to put this matter to rest, we adduced our annual report and financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2025, prepared and published by the Auditor General of Ghana. And this is your copy, I will leave it with you. And Samson, when you check page 16 of that report, you will see that the Gold Board did not make a loss in 2025.
I've read that.
But the Gold Board made a surplus or profit, to the understanding of the ordinary Ghanaian, of 5.4 billion cedis. The Gold Board, from its own operations, generated non-tax revenue of 970.7 million cedis, from 307.7 million in 2024. And despite tripling revenue from 307 million to 970 million, we rather reduce our expenditure from 129.6 million to 109.5 million. And this is despite the fact that the Gold Board had more than twice the staff strength of the PMMC. We still kept expenditure lower because of fiscal prudence. And in this entire audit done by the Auditor General, not a single adverse audit finding was made against us. No breach of the Public Procurement Law or Public Financial Management Act or any law. And yet you have somebody, a minority leader, who is a lawyer and ought to know better, consistently say, the Gold Board Gold Board is a scandal in waiting. Procurement breaches. When we brought out the findings of the Auditor General, he spoke to City News and said, oh, the Auditor General was not told the whole truth. Gold Board did not give the Auditor General a full picture of his finances. So Samson, today I will show you what the Auditor General said on page 10 of this report. These are the words of the Auditor General. The Auditor General says this: we have audited the financial statements of the Ghana Gold Board, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2025, statement of financial performance, statement of changes in equity, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, including summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes to the financial statements set out on pages 21 to 41. In our opinion, these financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Ghana Gold Board as at 31st December 2025, and of its statement of financial performance, statement of changes in equity, and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, IFSAS, and the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, and in a manner required by the Ghana Gold Board Act 2025 Act 1140. This is the opinion of the Auditor General. So they came out and said, Gold Board has made losses. The Auditor General says nothing of that nature has happened, and Gold Board has so far demonstrated frugality, fiscal prudence. You see everything here. Then they change that line of attack and they say, oh, the IMF has said the Gold Board has made a loss. And as I've read to you from the 2 publications of the IMF, and if you don't believe me, at least believe Joy News Research Desk, they have confirmed that the IMF has never said that the Gold Board has made a loss. Now, when we talk about the revenue we made in 2025, for which reason we perform so well financially.
A lot of people, if you don't mind, first of all, what's the source of your operating revenue?
Good. Thank you so much. So, Gold Board, like any other SOE, is allowed to raise funds in accordance with law. And if you look at the Ghana Gold Board Act Section 18, the funds of the Gold Board may come from funds allocated to it in the budget approved by Parliament, or funds raised by the Gold Board from the financial markets, or funds raised by the Gold Board through borrowing, or funds accruing to the Gold Board from its fees and charges. And if you look at what constitute fees of the Gold Board, number one, our license fees. When you apply for an aggregator license, you pay an application fee of 100,000 cedis to the Gold Board. And when we approve your application, you pay a license fee of the cedi equivalent of $500,000 to the Gold Board. When you apply for our self-financing aggregator license, we charge you cedi equivalent of $1,000. And when we approve it, you pay a license fee of 10,000 cedis. When you apply for our Tier 2 gold buying license, you pay 2,000 cedis. And when we approve it, you pay a license fee of 20,000 cedis. When you apply for our Tier 1 license fee, you pay a fee for the application of 1,000 cedis. And when your application is approved, you pay a license fee of 10,000 cedis. Then the large-scale mining companies, before they will export gold, must bring that gold to us to assay. And because assay costs money, equipment, workers that must be paid, consumables, machines that must be maintained or replaced, large-scale mining companies will have to pay an assay fee of $90 per every sample we assay. And sometimes for one consignment, they are a lot, because from every bar you must bring a sample.
Okay.
And we charge $90.
Right.
And when the large-scale mining companies are smelting their gold, Gold Board officers, we call them field inspectors, go to their gold rooms to observe the smelting, to make sure that they are not under declaring purity quantities and all that, and cheating the state. And when we visit, we charge them $840 per visit. These are all in the fees and charges approved by Parliament.
Right.
Now, if you buy ASM gold, artisanal small-scale mining gold, and you are exporting it, whether you are Bank of Ghana, or you are MIF, or you are a self-financing aggregator, or you are a private exporter, whether Ghanaian or foreigner, you must pay an assay fee approved by Parliament of 0.258%. We issue licenses to refineries, and the refineries pay $10,000 as application fee and license fee of cedi equivalent of $50,000. We issue licenses to jewelers and fabricators, and they pay an application fee, category A, 1,000 cedis, category B, 5,000, category C, cedi equivalent of $10,000. The license fee for category C is cedi equivalent of $30,000, category B, $20,000, category A, $10,000. So all these fees put together is what gave us our non-tax revenue of $970 million. Admittedly, because the Bank of Ghana was the sole buyer through its aggregators like PMMC and Red Sapphire, and the ASM gold is bigger in size, if I can put it that way, than the large-scale gold. A lot of our revenue came from the ASM side. But that was the case in 2024 before Gold Board, even under the PMMC. That was the case in 2023 when it was private people who were buying the gold. So this is where we got our revenue from. We are not sitting at GOLDBOD just milking like a parasite another institution. Every fee we charge is approved by Parliament for legitimate services rendered, which services cost us money. And all persons who access those services pay those fees. It's just like going to the Registrar General Department to incorporate a company. You will pay a fee to the Registrar General Department.
That's right.
If you go to DVLA to renew your license, you will pay a fee.
Right.
It is, those institutions are not milking you or causing losses to the state.
And these licenses you issue, at this time, we're talking about how many of them?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000
Over
of them.
1,000.
Okay.
And when GOLDBOD makes money, that money belongs to the state. So how can GOLDBOD make legitimate money from the discharge of its statutory duties, which funds are part of the funds of Ghana, and somebody will say that those funds have caused a loss to Ghana? Because GOLDBOD's money is Ghana's money, and the Minister of Finance can move that money just by giving the controller. That is why we can't open a bank account without approval of the controller. If it's a CD account.
at the
And we
start
can't
of-
open a dollar account without approval of the Minister of Finance. Our money is the money.
At the start of your operations in April 2025,
Yes.
the state had to sort of capitalize you, give you money.
Yes.
Whose money was that?
That is the taxpayers' money. So the state sets up a new agency called GOLDBOD. When you set up a company in the private sector, the shareholders must capitalize the company. You must give the company equity or debt to capitalize the company. So government says, I set you up to trade gold. I'll give you a one-time revolving seed capital as my equity of 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, which Parliament approved.
That's right.
But that money was not released to us until the 30th of December 2025, when the year had ended.
Okay.
And so it's one of the reasons why we were only able to begin the implementation of our statutory mandate in March of 2026. Now, having explained the issue around GOLDBOD's own financials and demonstrate to you that no loss has been made, and giving you a sneak peek into what constitutes revenue for us, for you to see that it comes from many, many areas, and it is all approved by Parliament. And having demonstrated to you that the IMF has not said we have made any losses, nor blamed us for any loss, let me tell you something.
And the Auditor General gave you a clean bill of health.
Clean bill of health.
Okay.
Let me tell you something that this IMF report discloses, and something that it doesn't disclose, which the media has not seen. Number one is that the first sentence of this paragraph 13 of the IMF's report on selected issues discloses something really serious. It says that the domestic gold purchase program operations have generated significant losses for the BOG. Losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million. What does this reveal? It reveals that the Bank of Ghana, under the NPP and under the leadership of Philip Addison, concealed, covered up domestic gold purchase program losses for 2024 in the audited financials of the Bank of Ghana.
How do you say that?
You recall that in December, when the first IMF report disclosing a loss of $240 million came out, I came to the studio.
Yeah.
And I read to you from my phone losses that domestic gold purchase program had incurred from inception 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024.
That's right.
The NPP rep on the show, Kabiru, also read from the NPP's audited financials and told you that the figures I am quoting are not in the audited accounts. And so I had to give you my phone and told you to confirm whether that message had not been sent to me by the governor. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
You also recall that the governor himself went to the Public Accounts Committee, where the chairperson, Abnasari, asked him to confirm whether losses were made under domestic gold purchase program in 2024. When the governor mentioned that a loss of 5-point-something billion was made in 2024, the lady said it is not true, and that the governor should show her which part of the 2024 audited financial statement of the Bank of Ghana discloses that figure. Because that figure is not there. So they were covering up their domestic gold purchase program losses. And that is why Nathaniel Markin can sit on TV and say, why not gold boka? Forgetting that from 2021 to 2024, they made losses upon losses under domestic gold purchase program. Because the intention was not profit and loss. The policy intention was national economic stability through foreign exchange generation, as I have already explained. You see, so the IMF has actually exposed a cover-up of losses that Ghanaians would have never known occurred in 2024. Now, number two, and I'm happy that in this report, when you read it, the IMF says that a forensic audit is being conducted by the Bank of Ghana into domestic gold purchase program from inception, 2021 to 2025. When they are done, the IMF says the Bank of Ghana will conclude that audit by 2026 third quarter this year. When they are done, we will know all the losses they covered up for 2021, 2022, and 2023 and 2024. Because IMF has only unearthed the 2024 one. But do you know that this 2022 billion, this 2025, $22 billion cedi loss, or $1.7 billion loss, is no news, and that the BOG itself has put out this figure, and that my jaw online on the 1st of May 2026 reported that BOG had incurred a loss of 21.8 billion cedis. Just 1st May. And your producers have put it on the screen.
Yeah.
This was put on Facebook. Look at the date.
Yeah.
1st May 2026.
That's correct.
BOG records 21.89 billion gross loss on GOLDBOD gold purchases in 2025 as government absorbed 5 billion cedis. This was the story my Joe Online did. And let me read the relevant portions of what the Bank of Ghana itself said in FAQs it released around that time.
That's right.
Question 17. This is Bank of Ghana. The question is, what is the precise breakdown of the gold program net loss of 9 billion? They give you a breakdown. Because the 9 billion they reported in their financial is net. The 22 billion, which is equivalent to $1.7 billion, is gross. So they give you the breakdown. They say the net loss of 9 billion cedis on gold transactions comprises two programs. The Gold for Reserve program accounts for 8.85 billion of that net figure. The Gold for Oil program, which was discontinued in March 2025, accounts for the remaining 203 million. So from January, February, March, Gold for Oil lost by Bank of Ghana 203 million. GOLDBOD is not part of Gold for Oil. Within the Gold for Reserves figure, this is the Bank of Ghana. The gross accounting loss on Dory gold transaction was 21.89 billion cedis. They didn't hide it. The gross figure was reduced by 3 offsetting items. A government cost share of 5 billion, representing the government of Ghana's agreed contribution to program costs in line with the strategic recapitalization of the bank. 2, realized fair value gains on monetary gold of 7.9 billion, being gains previously held in other comprehensive income that were reclassified to the profit and loss account upon the disposal of the related gold. And 3, interest income earned on gold deposits of 47.8 million Ghana cedis. So they are honest to tell you that the gross loss was 21.8 billion. Government said what we had done had benefited the nation and we needed to be recapitalized. So government gave us 5 billion. So we will use that to reduce it and brought it from 21.8 to 16 billion. Then we had gold that we bought at price X, but the price had gone up to X plus 2. And we sold that gold, so we added the gains of 7.9 billion to reduce it further. And then we had gold deposits that we made income on of 47 million, and we used that to reduce it further. What you have left is the net loss of 9 billion cedis, which can be found in their note 13 on page 63 of their 2025 audited financials. No cover up. But you see, what the IMF has put out as the 2024 figure of $400 million is a net figure. So if you compare $400 million net, which is 5.6 billion cedis for 2024, net, to a gross figure of 21.8, that is not correct analysis. You compare gross to gross. So if Bank of Ghana's loss for 2025 gross is 22 billion, tell us what the 2024 gross was. But you told us the net of 400 million. And that is why the media should follow up with the ongoing forensic audit at BOG, which the IMF says will be concluded by third quarter this year. And they are auditing domestic gold purchase program from 2021 to 2025. And we will know all the losses that some people covered up so that they can accuse others falsely for selling gold and incurring losses. Now, having explained these issues, I have said this, that when you hear the Gold Board explain that it has not made a loss, it is not shifting responsibility or liability to the Bank of Ghana. You see, Samson, why did our parents give us names when we were born? Why are we all not called Kofi? You see, when somebody comes out to say that Samson Lardy's law firm has incurred a loss, when in actual fact it is Kofi Bentel's law firm that has incurred a loss, will your law firm keep quiet?
Of course, we won't be excited about that.
And when you rebut, then they say, oh, every loss is a loss. So whether it is Samson Lardy's loss or Kofi Bentel's loss, there is a loss. I say, well, what be that? So what we are saying is that put the losses where they belong, like the Bank of Ghana itself has done and the IMF has done. And let us now discuss. And if we are discussing that, we have said that, look, the current leadership of the Bank of Ghana has done nothing wrong, in the sense that they were implementing a domestic gold purchase program that was designed by the previous government not to generate profits. They designed it to generate foreign exchange, knowing very well that losses were going to be made. And that is why the government at the time announced that they were going to buy gold under domestic gold purchase program at spot prices. This was the announcement made through the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, my good brother Samuel Abu-Jinapo, on November 28th, 2022, published by Graphic Online.
Right.
And in this publication, Abu-Jinapo is emphatic that on pricing. He says that Mr. Jinapo said gold to be purchased by the Bank of Ghana and the PMMC will be at spot price with no discounts. Who buys gold at spot price with no discounts and expects to make profits? So you designed it that way. You wanted economic benefits. Therefore, just to land so that you ask me the question you want to ask me, my argument in defense of the current leadership of the Bank of Ghana is this. If economic benefit was objective, then did they achieve it or not? In 2025 or 2024, when the same domestic gold purchase program incurred a loss net of $400 million, the rate of inflation was 23.8%. In 2025, when on net basis, they incurred a loss of $9 billion, which is $830 million. $9,830 million. The rate of inflation was 5.4% from 23.8. Food inflation 2024, 27.8%. 2025, 4.9. CD appreciation. The CD depreciated 2024 by 19%. 2025, appreciation of 41%. At the interbank level, you needed 14.7 cedis to get $1 in 2024 December. Under them, you needed 10.45 cedis to get $1. Lending rates reduced from 30% in 2024 to about 20% in 2025. And I can go on and on and on. We are all living witnesses to the economic benefits of what the IMF did, to what the Bank of Ghana did in 2025. So it is on that basis that I say that don't just look at accounting profits and loss. Look at what that program, which is different from what the GOLDBOD is doing in 2026, but look at what that program was intended to achieve and whether they achieved it. We can argue about whether they could have reduced the cost. That is a legitimate question. But don't and attack them and don't say that that loss was because of corruption. Then this point, look, if you are watching me, write these figures down with all due respect. I had an institution through which every good purchased, assayed, and exported must go through. And so I can tell you that in 2024, the Bank of Ghana bought gold of a total of, ASM gold, of a total of 46.5 metric tons. Write it down, 46.5 metric tons. That gold was supplied by two aggregators, Red Sapphire, private company. They supplied 31.5 tons. And PMMC supplied 15 tons. So Red Sapphire supplied more than double what PMMC supplied. So 46 tons. The value of that gold was $3.2 billion. So somebody bought gold of a quantity of 46.5 tons, worth $3.2 billion, and incurred a net loss of $400 million. Then somebody in 2025 bought gold of 104 metric tons, valued at $10.9 billion, 10.9, and recorded a net loss of 9 billion cedis, equivalent to $840 million. Do the math and judge whether this in 2025 there was cost efficiency or there was recklessness. And finally, on that point, because I want to address the reasons that have been canvassed by Afenyo Markin and some commentators to the effect that GOLDBOD is responsible for BUG's losses because GOLDBOD was the one that bought the gold. So because GOLDBOD charged fees.
So that's the central question I was going to go to.
Yes, but I want, before that, I just want to
reading
make
the
one
IMF
last
statement.
All right, okay. I want to make one last point. Okay. Now, if you don't want to believe Sami Jenfi that the Bank of Ghana did nothing wrong in 2025, and that whatever accounting losses that were reported is in line with policy design and reflects all the losses that the BOG has made under that program 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And that you should assess them not only on the basis of the accounting losses, but the economic benefits that generated. Right. Without prejudice to the call for us to look at whether or not they could have done so or achieved the same thing at a lower cost. At least listen to the MPP. And I'm going to read the words of the MPP to you. In September 2025, not 2024, 2025, yeah.
Okay.
Imani came out with a publication on gold for oil, where they blamed Bank of Ghana for opacity surrounding gold for oil, and said that because of how they had poorly managed gold for oil, which is a component of domestic gold purchase program. Okay. Domestic gold purchase program is made up of gold for reserves, gold for FX, and gold for oil.
Right.
Imani said because of how you poorly manage it, Bank of Ghana had made losses. The MPP issued a press statement dated September 29, 2025, and sought to rebut that claim that had been made by Imani. This is what the MPP said. Point 4. Imani claim. Imani interprets BOG's reported losses under the Gold for Oil program as evidence of financial mismanagement or diversion. The same thing they are saying here, that Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program loss means that people have mismanaged and Sami Jenfi cannot even meet his bill conditions and all that. MPP says, this is their response to that. Facts. BOG transparently reported, and they are bolding this, forest liquidity support cost. So what today they are calling losses, they call forest liquidity support cost. In other words, cost that Bank of Ghana incurred to make sure that there was forest liquidity dollars. So you see, BOG transparently reported forest liquidity support cost of 1.8 billion cedis in 2024. Up from 317 million cedis in 2023. They called gold for oil losses forest liquidity support cost. These are not diversions of funds, but the cost of stabilizing forest supply to facilitate gold for oil imports. BOG's seed capital of 4.69 billion was fully traceable in its balance sheet and confirmed via RTI disclosures. Losses were published in BOG's audited financial statements and approved by its boss with no evidence of corruption. Then in their conclusion, this is what they say. The Gold for Oil program has been misrepresented by Imani and factually inaccurate, laced with speculations. The verifiable facts are no evidence exists of the alleged leakage. Boss financial performance and profitability improved significantly under Gold for Oil. The program reduced forex pressure, stabilized the cedi, and maintained consistent fuel supply. BOG's reported costs, not losses, costs, were transparently disclosed as liquidity support measures, not evidence of corruption. These are the words of the New Patriotic Party. And today, they have forgotten that they were making all these losses under domestic gold purchase program. And they are saying that it is when Sami Jenfi and the Gold Board came into being in Ghana's gold ecosystem in 2025, that all of a sudden, through our recklessness, Bank of Ghana is making domestic gold purchase program.
So as I said,
let's go to those.
As I said, same paragraph 19, paragraph 13.
Yeah.
I wanted to approach this discussion from a point of view where I could say that I am not being influenced unduly by either your press conference or Afenyo King and the minorities, points that they have made. So I decided to do some exercise. I know, artificial intelligence apps can make errors. They do make errors. They do hallucinate. But it depends on how you instruct. So I use as three of them to try and make a certain statement. This is the result I got when I asked about fixing liability on GOLDBOD, whether direct or contributory. So I want to read some of the finding I got for you. Fixing liability on GOLDBOD. The answer I got was no, an emphatic no, using the IMF report and the relevant pages to generate this. It says no, the report does not fix legal, fiduciary, or statutory liability on GOLDBOD for the $1.7 billion or 17% loss. The text explicitly attributes the accumulated $1.7 billion loss in 2025 to quasi-operations borne directly by the Bank of Ghana. In fact, if you look at the document itself, on the face of it, this is what you find. Borne by the Bank of Ghana through the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, DGP. The primary causes stated are accounting valuation effects. This is also stated there. Service and assay fees paid to GOLDBOD. That's why I said we'll get there. When you mention we'll go there. Discounts granted to off-takers and exchange rate spreads between Forex Bureau rates and the central bank's reference rate. GOLDBOD is identified as a recipient of service and assay fees, not as the bearer of the financial loss or the primary legal entity absorbing the balance sheet exposure. But guess what? And this is where your press statement and what is going on, I put a question.
And this is artificial intelligence, right?
Correct.
Fantastic.
I used three different. I used three because that's the way I wanted to approach the discussion.
Good.
So, GOLDBOD's fee structure and operational overhead directly contributed to the total loss. This is the conclusion. Directly contributed to the total loss percentage, which dropped from 14.5% in 2025 to 11.4% in 2026 Q1 due to fee cuts. However, from a strictly or financial liability perspective, the financial loss remains categorized as a quasi-fiscal balance sheet loss of the Bank of Ghana, rather than a debt or liability owed by GOLDBOD.
Fantastic.
Do you subscribe to this?
I will explain something to you that maybe in this discussion I've not even had the opportunity to explain. You see, when the IMF tells you that the Bank of Ghana has made this loss, and they tell you how the loss came about, from page 13, as I read, that the loss came about, the 1.7 billion loss, as a result of the scaling up of the domestic good purchase program, the expansion of it, okay? And then they move on to list for you the components of the loss. And then they say discount to off-takers.
Correct.
Then they say fees paid to GOLDBOD. Okay?
Yeah.
And then they talk about the spread between the exchange rates at which gold was bought, Forex Bureau, versus the exchange rate at which BOG accounted for the funds in their books, Bank of Ghana rate, which is lower. They list these three things. They are theoretically not wrong. And I will explain that to you. They make a genuine mistake, which I will not even, that is why in my press conference I termed it mischaracterization. It stems from some of the reports that we share with them. And I will explain that to you. In trading gold, nobody buys gold at spot price, generally speaking. Because the spot price is the full price you can get when you are selling that commodity. And so you're trading. So you must buy it at a discount, and then within that discount, cater for your cost. Because the gold that you have bought, you are buying it from a bush. You will transport it. There will be security cost. You must smelt it. Smelting is not free. And when you smelt it in a crucible, some will vaporize out. When you are pouring it to cast your bars, you cannot fetch all the gold from that basin. Okay? So we call that smelting losses. And when you are shipping the gold, you pay the airline freight, you pay insurance, and even the person buying the gold from you will ask for a discount. Therefore, you must buy the gold at a discount so that the discount is able to absorb all these incidental operation costs.
Okay.
And so that when you sell it at a discount, you don't incur loss. Okay? But because the Bank of Ghana under the NPP announced a policy that had never been heard of in Ghana in November of 2022.
You read that already to us.
That because the country was in crisis, they could not have access to the capital market to borrow in dollars. So they needed gold so bad, that gold had become like cocaine. And they didn't have any institution with a monopoly like GOLDBOD. So Bank of Ghana and its aggregators...
Monopsony.
like monopoly, like GOLDBOD. So Bank of Ghana had to compete with the Indians, the Chinese, and the private Ghanaians who were buying gold at the time. And another state agency, MEF, who was also buying gold. Then Bank of Ghana says, I will buy the gold at a price that nobody can compete. So Bank of Ghana says, I will buy the gold at spot price. That was a decision taken by the economic management and announced by the Minister for Lands. Spot price. So once they buy the gold at spot price, it means they have given the miner the whole price of gold they can get on the international markets. Therefore, any operational cost will be lost to them.
That's right.
What is that operational cost? The fee they must pay the agent for transportation.
You've mentioned all of them.
For logistics, for smelting, for freight, for insurance, and for asset fees. All that will now be the reason for the loss. But in actual fact, is that the reason for the loss? No. The reason for the loss is that you are buying the gold at spot price.
Spot price, correct.
It's as simple as that. So when the IMF says that the component of the loss has to do with fees paid to GOLDBOD, off-take discount, everybody sells gold at a discount. In Dubai, the Dubai market itself has what is called Dubai discount. So why is it that the traders don't blame that discount for losses? Nobody can sell gold without a discount. Even LBMA gold, you will sell it, the large scale mining company will sell it at a discount. Why? Because the buyer must cater for his cost of refining. You are giving the person raw gold. The buyer must cater for the logistics, the cost of the shipment. So how can offtake discounts be the reason for loss? Unless that offtake discount is proven to be excessive. It's like a client coming to Samson Lardy and says, Samson, I've been arrested by the police. I need bail. And Samson wears his gown and goes to court and applies for bail. Obviously, you will charge the person fees.
Correct.
For legitimate legal services rendered. Unless it can be proven that that fee charge breached the GBA scale of fees. Have you committed a crime? And so if that client was a trader and he added your fee to his cost, and because he was not efficient in managing his cost, that leads to a loss. Is Samson the reason why he has made a loss? No. So the reason why GOLDBOD fees, offtake discounts, and all those incidental operational costs will be listed by the IMF, Bank of Ghana as the components of the loss is because you are buying the good at spot price. Okay, that is why I say to those who say that look, Parliament is the one that has said, GOLDBOD, you are performing assay. Assay is not free. You need to generate IGF. So when you conduct assay, charge 0.25%. You understand? That fee is not only Bank of Ghana who pays. Okay? The large scale people too paid, yes, $90 per sample. Why is it that the large scale people are not making losses? Because the same fees that Bank of Ghana pays and private good exporters also pay, large scale people pay. Why are the large scale people not making losses despite paying the same fees? You get a point here. Why is it that in 2024, when there was no GOLDBOD, yet the Bank of Ghana made a loss net of $400 million? What this means is that even if President Mahama had not established GOLDBOD, even if Sami Jenfi had not gone to GOLDBOD, the Bank of Ghana will still incur assay fee. Because to export gold, you must determine the value through assay. Even if GOLDBOD did not exist, whoever was buying the gold for you, you will pay service fee. The service fee of 0.5%, which per the September 2023 gold purchase agreement between PMMC and Bank of Ghana, is supposed to cater for transportation cost, logistics, smelting losses and everything. I'll read that to you. They mark this agreement confidential. You see the opacity, nobody knew of it.
You say you don't know why it should be confidential.
That's why I've published it and I'll give you your copy today. And you look at paragraph 6.3, subclause 13, it says buyer shall bear the buying agent. Buyer is Bank of Ghana, buying agent is PMMC. Sami Jenfi was not there, GOLDBOD was not there. Buyer shall bear the buying agent service charge into bracket operational cost of 0.5%. of the utilized portion of the advance funds for acting as buying agent or buyer, unless otherwise agreed in writing between the parties. The service charge or fee shall cater for logistics and transport cost, insurance, security, smelting loss, and trade margins. Not free money. And this Bank of Ghana was paying to another private aggregator, SFI, who bought 100% more gold in 2024 than PMMC. 31.5 tons against PMMC 15 tons. In 2025, these losses that they want to blame on GOLDBOD, do you know that this private company, SFI, bought 11 tons in 2025 when there was GOLDBOD? Because GOLDBOD Act was passed in April of 2025. And we started operationalization in June. Before June, SFI was buying gold in the market for Bank of Ghana. And they were being paid the same service fee.
Right.
So why is it that SFI is not the cause of the loss, but it is Sami Jenfi and GOLDBOD? Why is it that in 2024, when they made a loss, PMMC was not the cause of the loss, but all of a sudden it is GOLDBOD? Because the same fee that PMMC was paid, GOLDBOD was paid for its services, agreed to in an agreement.
Is that to suggest that you are ready to accept that if the MPP agrees that PMMC was responsible for that loss, then same will apply? Will that be factual in the circumstance of what you have said?
That is exposing the duplicity, or if you like, hypocrisy. Because in 2024, BOG makes a loss, and you say that one is BOG, it's not PMMC. It is not SFI. In 2025, you say, oh, it is the buying agent, GOLDBOD. Then I'm saying, what about the other private company who in 2025 also bought some? Now, even if they made that argument, they will be consistent, but they will not be right.
Okay, that's the point I was asking.
But they will not be right, but they would have shown to be consistent. It would have shown that the argument doesn't stem from malice against Sami Jenfi as a person. But it would have shown that they clearly don't understand the real cause of the loss, which is the fact that gold is being bought at spot price. And therefore, there will always be a loss because any expenditure on that spot price is a loss. Now, it's like what Ataisa said. Cocoa board has buying agents who go to the bush and buy cocoa for cocoa board. And they are paid a margin of 12.75% on the producer price. When in Ghana have we blamed license buying companies for cocoa board losses? Okay? And Samson, they move from this and they say, oh, but the gold was bought by Sami Jemfi on gold board. The gold was bought. So why should they not take part of the blame? It's like saying that, Samson, somebody comes to you as a suspect, because you are a legal practitioner, courtroom practitioner. I'm using legal examples, okay, so that you will appreciate it. So somebody gets a criminal matter, the person is denied bail, you are approached to go and apply for bail. You apply for the bail and secure it, and you take your fees and you go. But the matter moves to trial, and the person goes and engage Kofi Bentel as a lawyer for the trial. And then he is convicted. Then somebody comes to say, the reason why that client was convicted is because of Samson Lardy. Because Samson Lardy was the lawyer who applied for bail for him. Will you accept that? Your job did what? Ended with a bail application. Someone else was responsible for the trial. So by parity of reasoning, but
even that analogy in law may not actually be sound.
Yes.
Because it may not be the lawyer's fault. It may be that the person's case was simply bad.
But
and lawyers don't always go to court to get you out because sometimes you're actually guilty.
Correct,
and they will try to mitigate for you.
Assuming that he was convicted as a result of an error by counsel. Assuming. You can't still blame Samson Lardy. Because Samson Lardy's engagement had to do with the bail application.
Okay.
And
Kofi, hold on.
No, let me wrap up there.
I'm told by my production that we have 10 minutes and we're going to raise a couple of other issues.
So hold on. And the trial, the conduct of the trial lied with Kofi Bentel. By parity of reasoning, GOLDBOD's role like as a buying agent, just like Red Sapphire, just like PMMC did in the past, starts and ends with take money and go and buy gold for me.
Right.
In selling that gold, GOLDBOD is not parts. GOLDBOD is not a signatory. GOLDBOD does not determine who the off-taker should be, what the discount should be. GOLDBOD has no role in gold sales. So if profit is a function of selling price minus cost, and GOLDBOD is not involved in determining selling price and the conditions for selling that gold, how do you blame GOLDBOD? Just because GOLDBOD participated in buying gold. Then it means that any institution trading gold in Ghana, when you make a loss, blame GOLDBOD or PMMC because we charge you fees.
Right.
Argument.
So according to the IMF, the issue of discounts.
Yes.
The IMF notes that discounts granted to off-takers, exporters contributed to the program's losses. The question is, who negotiated these off-take discounts? Did GOLDBOD have any hand in approving them?
Question. GOLDBOD in 2025 was a buying agent.
Right.
It was not a signatory to off-take agreements.
Okay.
It had no power to determine who would be an off-taker and what the discount would be.
Right.
But even on that off-take discount, it is not the reason for the loss, like I explained. Because off-take discounts are standard features of gold trees, especially raw gold trees, what we call dory gold.
Right.
And so, unless you can show that the off-take discounts were unreasonable, you can't even blame any off-taker. Why? When MPP was in power, Samson, just 1 minute.
Right.
They had only one off-taker. You don't know that. That off-taker was called Alpha Stream. Nobody in Ghana even knew them. Alpha Stream. They were a middleman for another off-taker called Stonex. Yet the Bank of Ghana signed the off-take agreement with the middleman. Do you know at some point, what the discount was? 2.2%. It was the Esiama-led BOG that brought it down in 2025 to 1.2%. How do you blame 1%, 1.2%? Now GOLDBOD, we give 1% off-take discount. That is a standard discount you give on ASM non-traceable dory gold, sales. So that is not the reason. The reason why the IMF will say that is a component of the loss is because the purchase price is at spot.
Right.
So the real cost of the loss is the purchase of gold at spot. And then somebody will say, but why did the buying agents buy it gold at spot? Okay? And why did the buying agent also buy it at a Forex Bureau exchange rate?
Now, as we know, there's a motion before Parliament.
No, if I can deal with this last one, then the motion, because my 10 minutes, let me use it well. So they talk about this exchange rate argument and the spot. The buying agent is there to follow the prescriptions of his principal. So if the principal says by policy, I am going to buy gold at spot price, and by policy, I buy gold at market retail rates, the agent cannot say I will do otherwise. The agent has no power to determine that because the gold is not for the agent and the money is not for the agent. And this gold purchase agreement between PMMC and Bank of Ghana stipulates that gold, the agent, including Red Sapphire PMMC, must buy gold at spots. And the exchange rate is also stipulated, retail market rates.
Okay.
So it is not Gold Board that decided to buy gold at Forex Bureau rate. Right now, we are running the trade on our books. We buy the gold at interbank rates minus 10 pesos. I'm announcing this here for the first time because people don't know. We have been able to move the exchange rate determinant of gold purchases from the Forex Bureau rate, which has been the case for more than a century. In only 1 year, we brought it to interbank. And this year, we even reduced the interbank by 10 pesos. You understand?
Right.
We still do the spot purchases. Why? Because by moving the exchange rate from Forex Bureau to interbank minus 10 pesos, we have discounted the price of gold by 6%.
Okay.
And so we believe that for the world market price for 2025, we should give them all. But next year, 2026, we are bringing a discount of 2%.
Okay.
You understand? So that is how we must understand.
The minority is asking for an ad hoc committee of Parliament to investigate the losses. You have already indicated that upfront, you are more than willing to appear. So you're going to appear voluntarily, and you will provide all underlying contracts, assay logs, the pricing data. You will open your books fully if you appear.
You're one of the people who have followed my young political career. You've known me for a long time. You've engaged with me privately on this platform. Do I, Sammy Jenfi, look like somebody who will be afraid of a parliamentary probe? I have told them they are delaying time. All this talk, all this press conference, you are wasting time. And the motion they have filed, they've missed the issue. Look, Parliament works in committees. Haven't you heard that phrase? You don't even need any motion because GOLDBOD is under the oversight of the Committee on Economy. You know the ranking member for that committee? Kojo Ponkroma. Not too long ago, they came to GOLDBOD to engage us and to ask me questions. They can order me to produce documents. They can televise their provision, their proceedings. They can do it. I'm also under the oversight of the Committee on Finance. Honorable Adongo is the chairperson. Honorable Minanta is the ranking member. They can call me today. The Public Accounts Committee, chaired by our sister Abna Sari, they can call me today. What is this whole talk about? A special motion for an ad hoc committee when you have standing or select committees. They are just wasting time. And I have told our majority leader that this motion, the motion doesn't even mention GOLDBOD. You are saying Sammy Jenfini GOLDBOD at on Gold Aboka. Invite us to come and show the word that you are truthful. Then you've gone to draft a motion which doesn't even mention the name of GOLDBOD. You are talking about Bank of Ghana domestic gold purchase program losses. And even with that, you are saying you want to probe only 2025 losses. If we have to probe Bank of Ghana domestic gold purchase program losses, then let's expand the issues and start from 2021.
That's fair.
And let's bring Addison, let's bring Kwesi Ewua, my predecessor. Let's investigate domestic gold purchase program. Why limit it to 2025?
Right.
So the call is a challenge between GOLDBOD and Afenyo Maken. He says, GOLDBOD Aboka.
Beyond the minority, there is also this large section of the public that is concerned about Galamsey and say that you have been talking about traceability for a long time.
So we should probe.
But you are not implementing traceability. So the small-scale gold you are buying, how sure are you That you are not the one actually buying
so if we are to
illegal
probe,
gold.
so if that is a reason for a probe, I'm saying that then probe it from 2021 under domestic gold purchase program. And the records will show that people bought gold for oil, gold for reserves, gold for FX, and they made no effort to implement traceability. We, a barely 1 year statutory corporation, are currently involved in a national competitive tendering process to acquire the traceability for Ghana, traceability system for Ghana, to allow us to trace every ounce of gold we buy to their mine of origin. This is historic. And this is not, if I could do so sourcing without Suleiman Abraham coming after me, I would have concluded that process. But government bureaucracy, you have to go through that process. That we will finish the procurement in the next 2 months, I believe, and the onboarding of the over 1,000 licensed small-scale miners will start. And then we will look at registered cooperative mining schemes who are committed to undergoing training to operate responsibly, and we'll onboard them as well. And then we'll go to Parliament to pass a law on what should happen to gold which is not traceable, whether it should be confiscated by GOLDBOD, because currently our law is silent on that, whether we should not buy it or whether we should buy it at a punitive, So, but if that is why you are calling for an audit, then let us broaden it and start from 2021.
Right. As we wrap up, there are concerns that you are CEO of a very important state institution. You are contributing greatly to the stabilization of, our economy, so to speak. And yet, when you hold a press conference, they expect the Sami Gyamfi CEO and not the Sami Gyamfi who was doing political campaign, speaking for his party. Your choice of words directed at the minority leader and some other persons. What do you have to say about that? Because one of your own, Van der Poel, even had to say that you miscommunicated. And then suddenly he's under siege. He's had to come and apologize.
All right. Now, I'll deal with these two issues quickly. Right now, you've hosted me for more than an hour, I guess, right?
We're into the hour now.
Have I spoken like a chief executive officer or as a
You've been dealing with numbers in ways that some people may not even grasp.
Good. So, you see, when a man sets out to demonize you and denigrate you and to tag you with something he knows to be false, wages a persistent, sustained smear campaign against your person, and you have an opportunity to respond to that person, you don't give such a person a hug, a peck on the cheek, and a bouquet of flowers. You understand? Like Isaac Newton said in his third law of motion, for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. Afenyo Markin got the response he deserved. I never insulted him, and nobody can show me one word that I used that was insulting.
Even at the start, you seem to suggest that you don't know who he is. Setting Afenyo Markin.
That is how you respond to somebody who projects you as being liable of a criminal offense and says that you will not be able to meet your bail conditions under
this is all he said. Let's listen to Afenyo Markin.
If I could
let's listen to him. Hold on. Let's listen to him.
GOLDBOD's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the 1.7 billion US dollars in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses. They are not a difficult market. They expose the crass incompetence of GOLDBOD's management and misaligned policy of the government. No serious institution loses this much money by accident. This is what happens when an untouchable few are handed the nation's gold with no one watching and no one willing to ask questions. 3 million cedis, 10 million cedis, yetumi frɛ wɔ iyoko. Na wakɔda hɔ, na yɛse fa ejapadeɛ a asumboɔ for branch ya ma bail. Na ne GOLDBOD for bail dia be hu. Tio me bao, wait there. Sir, 22 billion losses here. Almost GOLDBOD aboki. And then who bill? As a cabin, I had the baby bill.
Was he really serious about it? Didn't he sound like he was being a little jovial?
But what did I do? Me too. I just compared him to Kojo Ponkroma, Abna Sare. Kojo Ponkroma, Abna Sare, and me, Anta. All of whom are his colleagues in Parliament, MPP people, who have criticized us. And I said, when you listen to those criticisms, you see maybe lack of information, but they don't make it personal. But when you listen to him, you hear malice for Sammy Gyamfi. Either than that, who can read these IMF reports and even suggest that Sammy Gyamfi will have to meet onerous bail conditions to the tune of 22 billion? Because this issue is not about Sammy Gyamfi. So you see the smear campaign there. You get my point? Then he says, Obi Antongo de Moka. In this world, the most cheapest thing to trade is water. You went and supervised 4 consecutive years of losses at Ghana Water Limited when you were board chairman, from 2017 to 2024. A cumulative loss of 3.3 billion. You were sent to ECG as board chair. You supervised another loss of 8.2 billion cedis in 2024. What on Suaboka? What on Kenya Boka? Who you are not asked to meet any onerous bail conditions. Sammy Gyamfi that has not incurred any loss. It is me who will meet onerous bail conditions.
So that's the point.
So
if the audit, if the audit exonerates you from the claims he makes, but why should you reply in such measure?
No, but that is why I'm saying that just like he can criticize me, he's also not beyond reproach. You get my point? So Sammy Gyamfi should be criticized. Afenyo Markin should not be criticized. This is not an insult. I am showing you that this is your record. Cumulative loss of 3.3 billion at Ghana Water, 8.2 billion ECG. You are not facing any criminal action and onerous bail terms. Why should you project that on me when I have not made a loss? You see, my brother, there are many underlying issues between I and Afenyo Markin that you don't know and those watching don't know. I have appeared on Newsfile many times. Perhaps in this country, I have held more press conferences on political issues than anybody. Have you ever heard me use the word extortion against any of my critics? Have you ever heard me? Why will I use this word now? And why have you not heard Afenyo say anything about that? Or challenge me? Or threaten to sue? So the MPP people talking, there are things you don't know. I will not just, I'm a consummate Democrat. I eat and drink debates. I'm not worried.
Call the minority leader an extortionist.
I'm not worried if you criticize him. Yes. And that is why he cannot comment on that or even challenge me. He cannot. Because he knows that what I said is true. So there are many things that you may not have the benefit of. But let me talk about my good brother.
Afenyo Markin is a self-made man.
No problem.
He's got the chain of businesses.
Maybe tell him that.
Why does he need to come and extort money from GOLDBOD?
Tell him that you want to be his lawyer so that he sues Sammy Gyamfi to substantiate that claim. Tell him. Or tell him that you give him an interview here and Sammy Gyamfi will come and that you should dare Sammy Gyamfi. That is not an insult. I'm speaking about what has happened and he knows. Now, finally, my good brother, Honorable Nilante Vanderpoy. And here I want to address our rank and file.
We're told his campaign is doomed.
I want to address our rank and file. Honorable Nilante Vanderpoy is one of the people who have been very supportive of my young political career projection. I consider him a senior brother. And I know that he harbors no ill will towards me. But we are all not perfect. Sometimes, in communicating, something may come across in a way we never intended it. The man says he's sorry. I believe it ends there. Yesterday, I had a very hearty conversation with him, and we've put it behind us. Because at the end of the day, we in the NDC have a party to build and a nation to govern. And so that is all I want to say about that. But you see, the feedback that some of the comparisons and the words were strong is duly understood and taken in good faith. But I have explained to you that that is how you crash deliberate, malicious smear campaigns. When somebody wants to, for 3 months, Sammy Gyamfi, GOLDBOD, you don't give such a person a peg on the cheek, a hug, and a bouquet of flowers.
Okay.
You call him out for the world to know that what he's doing is not born out of any quest for accountability. It is personal. And the reason why He's on that personal smear campaign. It's extortion.
Don't repeat that.
I've told you.
All right, thank you very much. We take a break here. Sammy Gyamfi is the CEO of the Ghana Gold Board. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's the most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. First, we had engaged with Ben Boakye, Executive Director, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. Now joining us is Senyo Hosi, convener, One Ghana Movement, finance and economics policy analyst. You know, he's been big on the issue of Galamsey, and he's here to help us on that discussion. He's actually a member of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, a platform that I'm proudly a member of. Kofi Bentil is lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa. Atta Issa is MP Salnergo and member Ghana Airport Company Limited, Board, Finance and Trade Committees of Parliament. Andrew Japamesa, Esquire, is former MP Secondee, former Minister for Trade, Arts and Culture. He also used to be in the energy sector. He helped us with the energy discussion, just as Atta Issa and Kofi Bentil did. Sammy Gyamfi, Esquire, is Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Gold Board. He's the one we have engaged in the last 1 hour. And my guests who are here want to put a couple of questions to him. He will take those questions and then take leave of us to continue our discussion on Galamsey. But here are some of your comments. Frank Anderson Jr. in the UK says, even if the Bank of Ghana were to make 5 billion losses, for argument's sake, the bigger economic picture matters. If, emphasis is if the gold board intervention helped retain 17 billion worth of gold that might otherwise have been smuggled out of the country, then the calculation cannot be based on the headline loss alone. All right, thank you. Many are making that point, but that's where others also ask questions that if they are taking credit for, not that they are taking credit, it's a fact that they are part of why the economy is doing better. If they are, then they should also, not be too quick to dismiss that they have also contributed to some extent to the problem. Kweku Enchibwesiako says that, do you remember when the NPP government used to exclude energy sector debts from the debt stock in order to have a lower debt to GDP ratio? We know the modus operandi of these politicians. All loss be loss. If the taxpayer who foots the bill in the end, okay, it's the taxpayer who foots the bill in the end, whether it means recapitalization of the BOG or whatever it is. Okay, but the finance people will say, look in the books, straightforward. And what the IMF says is straightforward. Gold Board is not responsible for the loss. So if they haven't named them, why do you bring them in? Papa BCU in Spinter says, you believe the NPP via Afenyo Marking at your own risk, and that their watch in government, the likes of Afenyo Marking, Kujo Nkrumah, etc., kept mute when Nana Addo as president and his cousin Ken Ofori-Atta, former finance minister, messed up our economy via corrupt activities leading to majority of Ghanaians suffering. Today, businessmen and women are able to plan well due to transactions of Gold Board and Bank of Ghana, bringing stability into the economy, whereby the cedi relative to the dollar never reached or crossed 13 cedis, unlike their time. They should give us a big break. Okay, thanks for that message. Prince Henry in Koforidua says, those saying Sammy Gyamfi is a public servant, hence must tone down. My question is, Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afenyo Marking, is he a private servant? Is Afenyo Marking not paid with our taxes too? Hence, must he also tone down? The fact is, the NPP just want to hang something bad on this government just to equalize, because the NPP has seen that there hasn't been any scandal since the NDC government took over. All right, thanks for your message. Musa Abatua in Nasawasi says, from the veritable facts laid down by Sammy Gyamfi, it appears Afenyo Marking may be using the attacks on him and GOLDBOD to protect his position as minority leader amid speculation that a Bawumia-led MPP could replace him. Ghanaians should recognize the political strategy behind the propaganda and move on. Manche Bruce II says GOLDBOD cannot be insulated from the $1.7 billion loss. According to the IMF and subsequent reporting, government, BOG and GOLDBOD signed an agreement in July 2026 to transfer all DGPP operations from BOG to GOLDBOD, with responsibility for those losses now transferred to GOLDBOD for onward absorption by government from July 2026. The IMF explicitly welcomed this to prevent further financial risk being placed on the central bank's balance sheet and called on BOG to discontinue the quasi-financial operations. So that's what you mean there. Master Planner Junior says, Lawyer Afenyomakin never mentioned Sammy Gyamfi's name. Really? He said GOLDBOD's bail and not Sammy Gyamfi's bail. Please watch the video again properly and listen to the entire conversation. Thank you for your input as well. Okay, now let's get a couple of questions for Sammy Gyamfi from my guests who have questions and have been patient in keeping mute for the 1 solid hour. Yes, Kofi, right. You shoot first. But once again, I must say that the extortionist claims against Afenyomakin and daring him to take a suit, whatever all of that means, we don't think it is fair because he's not here to respond to himself. For himself. Yes, even though we had attempted to have him on this program, he is presently not available here to be able to respond to himself. So we believe that it is an unfair, attack on him. And Kofi, yes.
Right. For me, I want to put these things in perspective. Mm-hmm. For the 1 hour Sammy spoke, he will lose some people. See, Sammy read NPP's response to an Imani analysis years ago when all of this started. And my interest is in putting these things in perspective and then kind of explaining to the general public why we are where we are and where we should be going. And the fundamental point I want to make is that GOLDBOD is one of the best ideas we have had since independence. It's the one thing that solves a major problem we haven't been able to solve, for which our economy has suffered. Taking charge of our gold resources. It never made sense that we are a gold-producing country, one of the biggest in the world, and we always had to struggle with forex and struggle with all kinds of things. We fixed it with GOLDBOD, but GOLDBOD is not perfect. And this is where I start. So, and let me tell this.
The Auditor General's report shows that they are perfect, clean, squeaky clean.
I'm trying to really make a certain change. So
go ahead.
I beg you, help me. There was a time many multinationals, a number of them in this country, needed to repatriate their funds outside. They had billions of cedis. If they went to the forex market to buy dollars, which is what they need because they can't transfer the cedis directly, our cedi would have crashed. Everybody would have suffered. As the problem sat there, it got to the table of Dr. Bawumia. And he came up with an idea. The idea was, okay, give us the cedis. We will buy gold because we have gold in Ghana. They bought the gold, gave them the gold. And with that, they repatriated it. Our cedis stabilized. They took their gold, they got their foreign exchange. That's where the idea started. It tells you what is possible. Now, from there, that's a raw, crazy market arrangement, buy gold. That's where the spot price thing comes from. If you want to mobilize that much gold, you buy it at a price that is better for the guy who is doing it so that he doesn't sell to somebody. Spot price happened there. But what it means is that we were solving a problem there. And therefore, you needed to buy it at that spot price, and there was a nominal loss. But there was a greater benefit because the whole economy was saved. Then it was better processed to go for oil, go for reserves, and go for those things. Imani looked at it, and we foresaw what Sammy Gyamfi is going through today. That's what we foresaw. We foresaw that if we continue this arrangement, after a certain time, we will be piling losses.
The losses make sense because you're trying to solve a different problem. But it is not sustainable. And I've been using this word in the Bank of Ghana trading or whatever. Sustainability. I've been using it over and over and over again. Guess what? So we wrote that paper and said, look, the way this thing is, it's going to create this kind of problems. This is what we foresaw. We were answered, Sami Jeffy just read it, okay? But guess what? After all those things were said, we ended up with about 18 tons of gold. This government took over. We're in a better situation, even though it was not a perfect situation. Now, my brother Nana Kwesi Ewa took PMMC, which was some backwater organization nobody cared about, okay? Brushed it up, organized it, did a very good job, okay? But he was no gold board. He got to a point. Then the government changed. Sami Jeffy comes inside. This new government had the idea of gold board. What I want people to appreciate is that you move from one, Gold for Elko, PMMC started doing some work, they didn't, then we go into gold board. Gold board started. We sat here. I looked at the gold board law. We looked at it, we discussed it here, and I said, we have solved, we've moved another level. So we've done better than before. But that gold board law, I still have a problem with it. They are policeman, they are buyer, they are trader, whatever. When the stresses happen, gold board is in danger to lose its way, start arresting people and all. That's another matter. But my point is, we move from one step to the other. Gold board is the best we've done so far, but it is not perfect. Now, at that time, it was Bank of Ghana that was trading gold through gold board. The losses belonged on the books of Bank of Ghana. They created problems for Bank of Ghana. And we said that wasn't a good thing to do. Today, as we speak, there is a transition from that position for Gold Board to have its own capital, to do its own buying, to do its own trading, and keep the losses or the benefits on its own books. If you watch what I'm saying, we move from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Each time we do better. We have not reached the point where we are perfect yet. So here's the point. Anybody trying to suggest that Gold Board is a mistake is wrong. Gold Board is the best we have done with our gold resources yet, but it is not perfect. Now, what is happening at Gold Board, and whether it is Gold Board's loss or Bank of Ghana's loss, it depends on your point of view.
Why should it be point of view?
Let me explain. See, if you send your son to go and trade, you give the person capital, go and trade, and he comes back with a loss. It's your son who made the loss on the market.
Is that what is happening here?
Let me try and make the model. Please, I'm using an analogy.
No, that analogy is a wrong proposition.
Yes. Okay.
The foundation is wrong.
Okay, let me change it. Now, Bank of Ghana does not have a gold trading mandate. But like I said, it made sense for us to use our gold to help our forex and other things. To do that, they needed to use some other institution that had a better mandate for that. That turns out to be Gold Board. So if Bank of Ghana was trading gold through Gold Board, and something happened, somebody has explained it copiously. Okay, it is not Gold Board.
Can I correct you before you move on?
Okay.
Yes, a minute. Bank of Ghana was not using Gold Board to trade gold.
Well.
The word trade means buying and selling. But Gold Board was not involved in selling gold.
Correct. The IMF is clear about that.
Exactly. So Gold Board was being used to buy gold, which the Bank of Ghana was selling. Okay, so the analogy that if you send your child to go and buy tomatoes for you, and your child goes to buy the tomatoes for you, and you go and sell the tomatoes and you make a loss, the loss is not the cause of your child.
That's right.
So let's get the analogy right.
Okay.
But on the issues of imperfections with the Gold Board model and all that.
Oh, I mean, don't take too much.
We don't. No, let me.
Maybe I'm not
let me just
using
answer. We don't claim perfection.
So don't answer me. You let me finish my own. You had one.
Okay,
listen. One of the quotations from the IMF says, BOG incurred losses from quasi-fiscal activities in the gold sector, exacerbating its negative equity. It is telling you that BOG entered some space, and the space they call it gold sector.
And they entered that space in 2025?
My dear, I'm not answering you. I'm making a point. It's not about 2025. I'm making a general point. The bigger picture is we have, as a country, to deal with this issue of how we deal with our gold and our forex stresses and the way it affects our economy. And so it became necessary for BOG to wade into some of those spaces. BOG is not a perfect institution to do quasi-fiscal activities in the gold sector. That's the English they used, what I'm calling trading gold. Okay, technically it may not be so, but it says quasi-fiscal activities in the gold sector. What it means is buying gold, doing all kinds of arbitrage
concerning the gold, all to solve a certain problem.
Yes.
And my point is,
but it attributes to different entities what they had to do.
Yes.
And says for GOLDBOD as say fees.
I hear you, and I'm saying all that is fine.
Which is fees they are entitled to.
I am not arguing with you. I'm saying all these things had to be done.
All right.
Because we have not created a perfect institution to do all these things that we needed to do since independence.
Okay.
So doing it this buga way, we will have these problems. And I gave the long track because I say, as we have the problems,
but
we
now
solve them.
there's progress.
We are making progress.
There's
Look,
progress.
no great victory is won without great struggle.
All right.
So we are going through these birth pangs, but we are going in the right direction. And we are incurring some losses. At the beginning, the losses squarely belong to BOG. They are BOG's losses. They sit on BOG's books. That's why they are capitalizing or whatever it is. So I agree when GOLDBOD says we haven't made a loss.
Okay.
Okay. But we all understand also that quasi-fiscal activities in the gold sector was being done partly by GOLDBOD. So if it came from there, so you didn't do any gold work for Bank of Ghana?
No, but
wait.
you let's allow him to end.
You perform gold services related
The
to
premise
that.
has always been the problem.
Okay. Me, I'm trying to explain.
Can I just answer?
No, don't answer. Okay, you. When I finish, okay.
You're not done.
No, I'm not done. You had how long? Okay, let me conclude. My point is this, guys. This argument over GOLDBOD loss or whatever it is, dentem funefu, funtum funefu. What it means is, you see that Edinkra symbol, two crocodiles with the same stomach. Whether Jonah swallowed the whale or the whale swallowed Jonah. Whether it is GOLDBOD's loss or it is Bank of Ghana's loss, there is a loss. But the question is, what is the nature of that loss? Me, I will incur that loss any day to get the kind of economic cooling we have today.
Okay.
The point is, we need to process this thing beyond we've come 2, 3, 4 steps. We need to move to the next step where these losses are dissipated or minimized as much as possible. And I'm saying the next step we've gone to is that we put it all on GOLDBOD's balance sheet now, which is something they are doing. Okay, and then we focus on GOLDBOD and say, hey, you can't be buying spot price. Spot price in ordinary terms is the selling price. You should be buying cost price. You add your margin and then you get selling price. But I've explained to you that at the time when this thing started, it was necessary to buy it at selling price because we're solving some problem. So in short, stop the fighting, the bickering, the animosity, and the attacks. If we can work as a country and focus on this thing, we should work to the point where when we are minimizing the losses and over time you see it coming down. Okay? And arranging ourselves such that, look, the gold fields of this world, all the people who are mining gold will mine it, give it to the government, get good money in cities for it. The government gets all the forex that we need to get. It will get to a point where Ghana will not need forex. You can't mine gold and have the kind of problems we are having. So for me, it worries me that the attacks are so bad and they become personal.
Okay.
And me, I think, Sammy, you've gotten advice from better places, like the vice president and all your friends.
Please, that was a fake post.
Okay, I hear you. I say you've gotten advice from better places. I'm simply saying you don't have to take my advice. But look, find it in yourself, okay? That space is hot. Tone down as much as possible, including, the Bible says, if they hit you on the left cheek, turn the right cheek. It looks silly. Proverbs 15 says that a soft answer turns away wrath. It is not easy, but you have not accepted an easy position.
The Bible also says a man's name is all he has. A good name is better than riches.
Yes.
So let's all be careful in maligning people when there is no basis
point I am making
for all of that.
But I'm saying,
Ejapa.
I
Yes,
agree
Ejapa.
with you. I'll take
Sammy,
it
hold
from,
on. Sammy,
I'll
hold
take
on.
it from
Ejapa.
where you
Yeah.
ended, that a man's name is all he has. And for me, this in itself should serve as a useful lesson for all of us. Because we're in this country when we're told, by my good friend, that Dr. Baumia is the owner of Haptel. And that every CD that people use to purchase prepaid, a portion of it goes to Dr. Baumia. He knew at the time that it wasn't true. But he said it. A lot of things were said in this country when they were in opposition. And so now you are in government and the heat is being, rained down on you, and rightfully so.
You should accept falsehood.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying that. Yeah, rightfully, your name is important. And so I'm saying that going forward, we should make this useful lessons to learn and refine how we do our politics of misinformation and falsehoods and things that we peddle against our political opponents. That said, you see, he who goes to equity must go with clean hands. Sammy, you make a point that the 400 million loss that was made in 2004 was not disclosed by the Bank of Ghana in its accounts. And that the 1.7 billion that the IMF report is gross loss, even though they don't state so. But you explain that the Bank of Ghana's own statement that they had issued earlier indicated a 21.85 billion loss, of which the government of Ghana had paid 5 billion as contribution to reduce the debt because of the cost that, its contribution to the cost that Bank of Ghana had incurred. And some sale that the Bank of Ghana had made with gold that they had. And so that then brings a net loss of 9 billion. In 2004, the Bank of Ghana reports a net loss. 2024 reports a net loss equivalent to the 400 million in its account. Of course, in that year, government of Ghana did not pay any money to Bank of Ghana to reduce its gross loss. Neither did Bank of Ghana sell any gold to defray the gross loss that they had made. So the 400 million that is reported in the IMF document is actually what is reported in the Bank of Ghana account as net. So if you allege that the MPP government under Dr. Addison did not disclose the loss that they have made in this account, clearly, it's not supported by the facts. It's not. And I've seen people already post on social media that Sami Jemfi, MPP, hid 400 million from what? Sami Jemfi. Hobson-Adoye and Co. They've started posting. Okay, but
we recognize also that he took it from a background of a previous interaction with Dr. Kabiru.
The document he's reading is a 2025 document.
But the 2024 accounts is reported in the 2024.
When you are reporting in 2025, the auditor KPMG is giving you 2024
yes.
versus 2025.
Absolutely.
But in the 2024, it is not there.
Why is it not there?
Show me the 2024.
No,
Let me
but I
give you the
don't.
2024 account.
I'm coming.
So it is auditors of Bank of Ghana for 2025 who went back to give you the 2024 figure. But in the 2024, the 2024 figure
was
is
not
reported.
There. Okay.
And the 2023 figure
we can validate it.
Is this not my own document?
No, it's not. It's not yours. I pulled it from the Bank of
this
Ghana.
hard copy. I brought it to the studio.
No, I pulled it and screenshot it this morning and printed it.
But you agree that it's 2025.
It's right here.
You agree that this was signed by Governor Siaman.
But I don't have to go to the 2024 account.
You have to go.
Why? Because wait.
Go to it and show in 2024 when they reported the 400 million.
Wait. I don't have to go because the 2024 account, the previous year's account, is reported in the current year account, so you do the comparison.
No.
Every financial reporting is
you are largely right, but when there are variations to an existing report, you find those variations re-reported here. All right,
but I don't have a problem. I'm saying
what Sammy is saying is that when you take the 24 accounts, it wasn't calculated.
It was not there.
So
that
this correction was done.
No, you pull it. You pull it. Pull it up because I don't have the time to.
If you can show me in the 2024 accounts where the BOG reported a $400 million loss under domestic gold purchase program.
Just show us the evidence.
Yes, so let's show it.
I will resign as CEO.
No, it's not a question of. It's not a question of resign.
All the reported was G4O. There is no domestic gold purchase program loss in it.
Needs you to
just check.
No, even if we can't
this is the 2025 report.
I realized something that between 2021 up to 2023 thereabout, there was some loss also, but we are not talking about it.
There have been losses when this thing started.
Up to $1 billion plus, right?
I keep saying it. Your people are on social media insulting me. The thing was designed to make losses.
Exactly.
And was designed to make, I repeat, accounting losses.
Because they were buying at spot price.
Again, when we speak about losses, we should be careful.
It's the nature of
the report was addressing accounting losses. Economically, there may be no loss because it was a policy expense that was willfully incurred to
a particular benefit.
Which has been achieved.
Which has been achieved. So we had in 2021, and that was more on the go for oil side as part of the program. Then we had it again in 2023 with the expanded regime going to the entire domestic gold purchase program with G4R being a part of it. All right. But it was always designed to make losses, accounting losses, and for one reason, to deal with the issue of smuggling. Because if you don't get access to that asset, you can't leverage that asset for economic transformation or stability. And that is what we were struggling with. And it was so easy to find because you see, you go on the UN, Comtrade data, and then you go to Dubai. Dubai data is there. You say, we have exported more according to Dubai than we ourselves we have captured. So where is the gold? So the way to fix it was this. People criticized it, including Imani. I mean, that particular thing. But there was a reason. And that reason may just be intertemporal. The critical conversation, I think the MPP missed this. All right? The critical conversation right now is if we've transitioned into trying to stabilize things, we've transitioned into trying to formalize processes with a gold board structure. I fully agree with Kofi when he talks about progress, and he also talks about gold board being one of the most strategic policy interventions we made in our economy. We should realize that gold board did not just happen. It is a growth and amalgamation of policy actions and testings and corrections over time, and also be further correction. Baumia contributed.
He started.
He started it. Yes. Addison contributed.
Yes.
Esiama has contributed. Yes. John Mama has perfected it. Relatively.
It's not perfect.
Perfected what he inherited.
He added relatively.
He has a relatively.
Yes.
He has done that. And now that we are moving again out of the Bank of Ghana funded regime, we have to actually now optimize what we are doing with better clarity.
All right, thank you.
So look, guys, we were having the wrong conversation. Yes. What we should be having a conversation with Sami is that now you didn't make the loss. You have operated, and I commend you, Sami. The fact that you've been able to manage the process to optimize our output, you must be commended because that's your real KPI in this. Is your compliance with the framework and the gold output you eventually realize. And maybe those are the reasons why they gave them enforcement too, so that they can't excuse why they were not performing. All right. Okay. So in the act. So the key question on the policy side, if this is coming to you, like you rightly said, 1st July, and you've been taking responsibility, what have you changed in the policy structure, in the operational strategy that will make sure that we don't have another 1.7 billion loss? Yeah. How do we zero out that loss? Or how do we have a fiscal structure that accommodates the loss in a way that is sustainable for our economy going forward?
Or eliminate the loss.
The conversation we should be having.
Right,
the loss.
Right. But you are asking him questions that the answers may take too long.
No, I'll summarize.
And you haven't asked me to allocate that time.
Yeah, I'll summarize.
All right, quickly.
So a few things. Number one, Kofi Bentel's general position is right. We've made progress under this whole gold purchase framework, using gold to show up our economy. Significant progress has been made, and what we have now is not perfect. I'll be a hypocrite to dismiss that. Just that Kofi has done very well today in being factual that the gold board has not made a loss. But when sometimes he turns around and say that, it's a matter of opinion, please. All loss be lost. Whether Jonah swallowed Bonsu or the Bonsu swallowed Jonah, there's a swallow there. However, that is why when our parents gave birth to us, they gave us names. If you have not made a loss, and I have made a loss, and I say you have made a loss, you will not accept it. So just be factual about that so that we can have a dispassionate conversation. You see, imagine this conversation had not been made about Sami Jemfi and gold board and bail conditions. We would have been discussing policy. But when you make it about a person, then we have discussed policy as well. So number two, we've discussed policy as well. Then number two, quasi fiscal risk, please. You made the same mistake that Mesa initially made. That once the IMF says that the domestic gold purchase program is a quasi fiscal activity and therefore should move to gold board, then it means that the losses that have been made are good ball losses. That's not the meaning.
That's not the meaning.
IMF is saying that the central bank. No, let me answer that. Let me answer that.
Sorry,
please,
gentlemen.
No, you're not entitled.
Gentlemen,
you're not entitled.
Gentlemen, hold on.
I want to explain my response.
The Bank of Ghana engages
Guys, hold on. Guys, hold on there. Hold on. Thank you.
So hold on. What is quasi? What is quasi? Hold on. What is quasi fiscal activity? Quasi fiscal activity are activities by SOEs or the central bank, which should have been activities of fiscal agencies like the Ministry of Finance and be captured on the budget, like subsidies. So the IMF says what you are doing to bring in dollars is like a subsidy. The Ministry of Finance and its agencies must be responsible. You, as a central bank, your mandate is monetary policy. So stay away from fiscal activities. So they are asking for a shift of responsibility. It is not to say that losses already incurred at the time that quasi-fiscal activity was being performed by the central bank is the cause or responsibility of the gold bond. So let's understand that. Then I want to repeat my challenge to my good brother, Honorable Ejapamesa. Honorable, the 2025 audited accounts were prepared by KPMG, signed by the current leadership of the Bank of Ghana. That is Governor Esiama. It is the 2025 audited report. It is in that report that the domestic gold purchase program loss for 2024 of 5.6 billion, which was concealed under your tenure, was disclosed in 2025. You see, so if you want to show that Sammy Gyamfi is not being truthful and that there was no concealment, no cover-up, take your 2024 audited accounts and show me where you disclose that 5.6 billion. It is not there. You only disclose gold for oil losses. All right. Then finally, on Haptel, Ejapa, the old man, Dr. Bawumia, is sitting there somewhere enjoying his peace. Not an old man. If you want us, old man is the balance the youth use to address people elderly out of respect. You understand?
Go ahead.
If you want me to go back to what I said and defend that, we can do that. But I don't think we'll have time to do that today. It is not that. No, I never said that by saying that somebody owns a company, his name is on incorporation documents. I was talking about front-end. And that is a discussion we can have. And finally, to your advice. And finally, to your advice.
4 years ago, you guys have tested
since you quoted the Bible, I want to quote the Bible and also end. Samson.
As long as you're not wearing
I have not insulted anybody. Somebody attacked my person and I have responded. And you quoted Proverbs. So let me also quote you Proverbs 26, verse 5. It says, answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. Okay. So please, I have just given somebody the response he acted for. And finally, Samson, you are right when you say that the person against whom I use the word extortion is not in the studio and therefore it's not fair. I agree with you. And that is why we should try and get him in the studio next time so that it can be fair for me to raise that point. And if he so challenges, we can interrogate that. On that note, I am done discussing this issue in the media. We will be focused on the important work the president has given us for the betterment of our country. If anybody still wants to talk about gold bond losses, their own palaver. If they call us to appear before Parliament, we'll go and deal with the issues.
And thank you very much. Thank you very much for agreeing to be on this show and to have this discussion. It's been most useful to all of us. Thank you very much. As you know, as I started by the introduction, that Ghana, we stand as Africa's largest gold producer, and recently we surged to 6th place in the world. We are producing a record 5.94 million ounces in 2025, overtaking even the United States. Gold accounts for over 60% of our merchandise exports, generating upwards of 20 billion in annual export earnings. Yet for decades, systemic leakage, illicit trading, and cross-border smuggling starved the state of its fair share. Between 2019 and 2023, independent estimates indicate Ghana lost over 220 tons of gold. You know what that means? That's about $11.4 billion that went to smuggling. The landscape began to shift dramatically following major policy reforms. In 2023, nearly 50% of artisanal gold went under recorded by 2025 with formalization and the operational rollout of the Ghana Gold Board. We need to stress that. Gold Board. Official artisanal and small-scale mining export expanded to over 103 tons, capturing billions previously lost to parallel markets and helping propel national reserves past $13 billion while stabilizing the city. The Gold Board is a place we must keep our eyes on all the time. But let's stick to the facts and make it save the country the way it has done so far. We'll be right back.
But we lost a president because
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. I have tons of your messages, but we have very limited time, and the Galamsey matter is important to us, and the much pollution our water appears to suffer, and now the Ghana Water suddenly doesn't want to release the turbidity results, and they tried to tell a lie, and Evans Spencer, found them out so plainly. I don't know how they are going to repair their image from how they were battered by the expose by Evans Spencer on PM Express and by the article that has been put out. Now, the Republic Bank Joy News Habitat Fair, something big is coming. The Republic Bank Joy News Habitat Fair 2026. Change is here. Get ready for the Republic Bank Joy News Habitat Fair 2026, your gateway to home ownership and exciting property opportunity. But first, don't miss our mini fair at the Achimota Mall, happening on Friday, that's yesterday, to Sunday the 23rd. Come and explore amazing offers, connect with industry experts, and take the step towards owning your own dream home. For sponsorship and exhibition, call Salasi on 0233 233 444. It's 0233 233 444. The Republic Bank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with Republic Bank. We are the one for you, and powered by Drive EV GH. Drive into a sustainable future. Virtual Security Africa, Security for All, Aquaba Building Materials, your partner for stronger projects. Lish Fortune Limited, unleashing luxury with perfection, one space at a time. MTN, everywhere you go. Door Masters, the best indoors. Ayuda, Ghana's #1 services app. App Services Bebre. Western Villas, where dreams meet reality. And C30, Ghana Limited, keeping Ghana powered day and night. Saint Gobain, Ghana, making the world a better home. Syntax Tags, a strong, a tough. Interplast, we make sure water reaches you even in space. And Clifton Homes, beautiful homes, wise investment. Habitat Fair 2026, home ownership, a lifetime investment. The Republic Bank Joy News Habitat Fair, get a house, make it a home. Thank you very much. Now, so for some time, you would realize that the discussion on Galamsey appears not to be on the front pages of our minds the way it was heading to the 2024 elections. As we understand, things are getting really worse. Even though NIMOS has been doing some good job, and the government believes that it is the one, agency or operation that will help us come out of what Galamsey is doing. So let's begin to measure how far we are doing. I'll begin with Senor Hosi. Yes.
I don't think we should beat about the bush. The truth of the matter is that we are nowhere near winning the fight against Galamsey.
We are nowhere near winning.
At all. And it is fair to actually say we have failed in that fight. We were all clear that we were facing this risk towards the end of Nana Addo's tenure in 2024. And we heightened our advocacy because we believed that he was our last chance. He was leaving. He was not going to come back. It was at the end of it. So if he had any benefits around Galamsey, it's over. Just fix one right thing for us and be gone. We didn't get it. I was very clear that a new government will always have complexities in fighting it. And the data has proven all of us right. We were screaming at the top of our voices when turbidity was around 14,000, 14,500. In 2024, August, I suspended public advocacy for close to a year at that time. But when I saw that we couldn't help it, we all had to just, jump back in. Yeah. Last year, right here in this studio, we saw 98,000. Again, in August, 1 year. It tells you that things were getting worse over time at an exponential rate. So each time is way worse. It's not an arithmetic thing that it is 1, then you move to 2. No. From 2, you are going to 4. 4, you are going to 8. From 8, you are going to 16. That's how this thing is, has become. And it's only going to get worse. We missed the opportunity in Nana Addo's first term. And I have to give him credit for that first term. He genuinely fought Galamsey till he gave in to the politics. And I keep saying, that's when we lost our president. If he maintained it and didn't listen to the politics, we wouldn't be where we are. Somehow, we are worse off. 9 months, say everything you want to say. For me, is absolutely moot. The sweetness of the pudding.
It cannot be absolutely moot.
Oh,
you need to revise that statement.
I'm revising nothing. You are not listening.
As we speak,
no, Samson, I say 9 months, we can say everything. All of it is absolute. Let me finish my statement. Then you can make judgment on it. All of that is absolutely moot. The effect of every single intervention must yield a certain output. Our water bodies, our forest reserves, the quality of food, the quality and security of our country. What is the data showing us? Have we made progress or we have retrogressed? Water quality, we are retrogressing. There's no intervention that has yielded the policy impact we saw.
By June of 2026, NIMOS is responsible for the arrest of 200.
Arrest 1 million people.
People who are
arrest
involved.
1 million people. And if when you arrest 10 million or 200 million people, the water is not improving, it's rather getting worse. Tell me, what is the policy outcome of the intervention? So you have to be careful.
The water is not improving, despite the fact that by June, as I speak, I mentioned, NIMOS had been able to, as it were, impound and destroy.
You see, again, you are making mistake with policy making. Policy evaluation is not done that way.
Impound and
you are discussing policy inputs.
3,000 chamfans. Demobilize over 170 excavators, water pumps, over 300 of them. They have been able to, as it were,
and your water turbidity is where?
Imagine they have not done so.
And your water turbidity is where? That is the question you should ask. Every single thing you are doing, NIMOS is not the only policy intervention. It is a plethora of policy interventions that are supposed to be deployed. It's supposed to achieve an effect. This is the mistake we make in this country. We discuss policy from a point of input and not the output.
Thank you.
That nonsense must stop. That's what we said. The president should make us put data out transparently. And look, we are Ghanaians. We largely go to school and learn for exams. We study to pass exam, not to know. There are very few instances that people study to know in this country. I have been a teacher. I've been a lecturer. I'm telling you. So if we don't set the examination questions correct, and the marketing scheme correct, you won't motivate the people right. So we should do that with our politicians. And we said here, it is the water turbidity we are going to start fighting. The water quality we are going to start fighting. So let's have, Mr. President, from every single water works, Ghana water treatment plant, let's report the input of water. If you yourself, Mr. President, every day you are seeing that upon all the things you are doing, all the big policy statements you are making, you are not seeing the effect, you start rethinking. But the truth of the matter is that they are easily constrained by the realities and practicalities of the time. And I need a little time. I spent time studying this particular matter. One, because of my papers, the treaties I put together around the IMF and the GOLDBOD and all that, early in the year. I spent time talking to Galamseyers, people in the communities, leaders in there. I spoke to policy actors. I spoke to the large-scale mining people, the CEOs. I did quite some extensive study of the entire situation. The socio-economic reality is that Galamsey has become a livelihood. It is so endemic, you can hardly separate it from the path of politics, economics, and community harmony. The chiefs are supporting it. The families are supporting it. A JHS school dropout goes into a pit and is making 3,000 to 10,000 cedis a week. How many of the people in this office, in Multimedia Group Limited, make 3,000 a week? Graduates, how many of them? You can't fix this. We have moved past the point of what? No return. And I must be honest, if I have to be honest in my policy making and my policy analysis, our only path forward is fixing Galamsey, not fighting and stopping Galamsey. We can't. The politicians today, the economy is depending on it. 63% of our total exports is dependent on gold. More than half of it is ASM gold. There's no lying about the fact that most of ASM can only come largely from Galamsey.
They deny it.
You can't hold GOLDBOD for it because there are licensed people coming in. You can't, so that I don't have a problem. And you and I have discussed. I'm coming, please, I beg you. Galamsey is funding our politics.
There's no time.
Galamsey is funding our churches. Galamsey is funding media. My brother, if we want to go and continue this passion, we will make no progress. If we take the economy, and this is so fought, and we're going to cut out a good part of it, the economy will tank. The politicians don't have the guts to get it done. They will keep pretending to want to have this done. So today, I'll be honest with a future that I think is only practical and real. Not because it's a future that is ideal. The Galamseyers recover around 30 to 40% of the gold in their mining. And they use suboptimal technology. The large-scale mining people, they recover 90 to maybe 95% of gold in their processes, and they do it responsibly. Can we rather think of formalizing these people, regularizing them? And one of the things that Galamseyers seek is validation and recognition. They want legitimacy. It's amazing. Galamseyers are not proud walking around as a Galamseyer. So man, the key guys. Okay. They will want, I'm coming. So when you use technology and we use some investments to now convert their output from 30% recovery to about 80% recovery, we can use that delta, that differential, to fund the correction of their activity. Not just reclamation, but more the technology that they use so that they do not degrade our environment. With that as a baseline, another critical thing, we must now call our politicians out. They should give us data. I don't want to shout again. Every week, Mr. President, Ghana Water should publish the data on the quality of our water. Every week or every quarter, food quality. Ask that report. Remember that report that was the EPA and the CSIR was doing? They should publish it every time. Ghana Forestry Commission, they should publish the state of our forestry reserves. And we'll see whether we are making progress or not. And then you see a change in policy action.
What a market transformative move from declare a state of emergency, go catch these people, shoot and kill, to he is a leading member of the Ghana coalition against Galamsey, to now seize these people, formalize them, because we are at a point of no return.
For the very first time in many topics that we've discussed, I'm extremely disappointed in Senor and the position that he's taking. Extremely. Because you see, I agree that His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo did not succeed in this fight against Galamsey. Try as he did. But we're here in this country when people, at the time that he was fighting Galamsey, were out in the Galamsey pits, telling the Galamseyers that vote for us. When we come, we'll allow you to mine. I never heard you call any of them out.
How did we, any of us support them?
I never heard you.
No, that's never true.
If you call
that's
them
never
out,
true.
Say
that's
so.
never true.
But I didn't hear you call them out.
Never true. The whole advocacy against Galamsey, we're always part of it.
And go out. That whilst we are all serious as a nation, fighting against this canker, the president was doing his best.
We commended the president.
I'm saying that you're commending the president. Now you are sitting here and saying that you lost the president.
Because he gave up on the fight.
When the opposition was out there in the pits where it mattered, doing the political propaganda, you didn't call the people in the pit out.
That's not true.
You never called them nation
That's
records.
also not true.
You're putting me in a difficult situation. I'm unable to stop him because you are directing your
It's not true.
things at
I don't know why he's interjecting, but it's fine. I never heard you call them out, that you nation records, stop what you are doing. Don't play politics.
The media coalition against Galamsey always did. So don't say so. That's not factual. That one I will accept it.
Take notes.
I will not take note on this one, Bobo. Today this one I go face you.
These are two good friends.
Yeah, when we finish, we are going to drink.
Go on. Yeah, so you now allow him. Let's hear.
You see, now in the run-up to the 2024 election, civil society, and legitimately so, the Catholics, bishops, Christian community, Islamic organizations, legitimate. Because I've said, look, I drive to Takrady practically every other week. And what I see the pra constantly becoming, I don't like it. So I don't try to play politics with Galamsey. You know it.
So why you play politics?
Hold on. The president today made commitments. His acolytes said all manner of things. Based on those commitments that they made to the people of Ghana, they were voted into office. They said that if the government was minded, all it took was 3 months for Galamsey to stop. What has happened? Now you are coming to sit here and tell me that we've lost it and that we should fix it rather than fight.
Because they don't have the political will and they won't get it.
So call them out.
I have done
call
already.
Them out and tell Ghanaians to vote against them in 2020.
I'm not here to discuss, but you also failed me, so don't worry.
I don't have a problem.
I've come to the conclusion that the two of you will fail us on Galamsey. So let's just fix it.
You sat here.
That's all.
You have sat here and commended Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
Excellency the president.
Yes.
For the effort he put in.
Absolutely.
Saboteurs.
Yes.
Including some who are in government today.
Yes.
Sabotage that fight. Made commitments and won elections.
Yes. And they've not delivered.
And so hold them.
I have said it.
Hold them.
You want
Where's
me to,
the AI?
So your disappointment is that I didn't say that they should vote for you.
No. I don't have a problem. Look,
I want to hear the disappointment.
You can see I'm watching the clock over and again.
The election cycles will continue to run. I don't have any difficulty at all. But I'm saying that all of a sudden the commitments that these our friends in government today made, based on which 1 week or 2 weeks to election, people were calling for state of the nation to state of emergency to be declared. What has happened?
It has failed. That's what has happened.
And you
are not an alternative on this matter because the two of you have failed.
Senor,
that's all I'm saying.
At least MPP hasn't proven to be saboteurs.
I agree.
We have not sought to undermine the fight against illegal mining.
But your people are still
the NDC did. Look, I don't have a difficulty.
That's
If people are committing offenses,
You know that.
environmental
People are benefiting
offenses,
from
the
it.
law is there.
The president
Deal
came
with
off
them.
ground.
After all,
So that
we're
they
told-
vote to me.
Senor, after all, we're told that the national conversation that we were calling for, when the saboteurs were out there urging people to vote for them, and when they come, they will allow them to mine. We were making the call.
They
They told
should be
us
ashamed of
that we
themselves.
have executive power. Senor, please.
Have you said it? Why?
They told us that we had executive power, and we should deal with it.
Yes.
So,
Communication that I got from Ghana Water, it suggests that you cannot draw that conclusion based on the fact that you said directives were given. Now, coming to this politics of it, look, in 2024, it was not the NDC that described you as poor in terms of how you fought Galamsey. It was not the NDC. And these two gentlemen sitting here also had the same verdict.
Yes.
So somebody who just left power 1.5 years ago, today has suddenly found all the solutions to Galamsey, the fight against Galamsey. So I am saying that if you look at the enforcement architecture that we used prior to NDC coming to office, there were this fragmented way of tackling it, these ad hoc measures, Operation Galamsey, Operation Vanguard, and all those things. NIMOS is a much more coordinated, intelligence-led.
I'm sorry, but I need Kofi to be able to make a 1-minute statement because we are done.
We are done.
Yeah, the time is done.
Okay, let me do
unfortunately. Kofi, as I'm listening to him, I've just gone back to the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, the Most Reverend Professor Johnson Kwabena Asamoah-Gyedu. He says, if we liked what we saw, we wouldn't have voted them out. So there is no point in making any reference. You promised that you would do new things.
It's also important.
So we expect that
that
will be done, period.
The best
I agree with him.
We should
but
call
I
them
think
out too.
He has not
We were in
assessed the
opposition,
situation well.
It doesn't matter.
you have power.
Please.
Please go on, go on. You are the one the mic is focused on.
Because honestly, I was disappointed during the election when the reports came of people campaigning and saying that when they came into power, they didn't say they would let them do Galamsey, but they would basically ease up, the kind of, reaction that the government was giving, basically tamp down on the fight against Galamsey. So here are the things that I have seen. One,
in 1 minute.
Nana Akufo-Addo tried and he failed, but this government is not trying. And honestly, you see, it's Mr. Kofi Amabin who used to say something which I agree with in this context. He says, little drops of water evaporate. Sometimes things are so insignificant that they do not make any difference. What they are doing with NIMOS is just doing something to represent something. Look, it is estimated that there are 1 million people active in Galamsey every day. NIMOS claims to have arrested 207 people. Out of which 40 of them are foreigners. And when they arrest foreigners, then they deport them. Throw them in jail for 5 years. All right? So these are the things which you say little drops of water evaporate. The Galamsey fight has been lost. This government is not sincere. What it is doing is not significant. Okay? And if you look at what is going on with GOLDBOD and things, sometimes you are tempted to believe that is what is driving it. We need to rethink. Let me finish. We need to rethink our thinking about Galamsey and the policy around it. If we can recover those lands, maybe we should start focusing
My producers have stopped me already. This show is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strongest group and closest partner, MTN, everywhere you go.
Where I get the gold from?
Educating
It is
ethical
recorded
and
that
brand
85%
leaders for Africa. Robert and Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance. Dial star 165 hash on MTN to join My Way today. Syntex Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. GOLDBOD Jewelry, pure, precious, proudly Ghanaian. Malcolm, your #1 shopping destination. Waylead, your trusted home builder. Bethel Dental, the smile starts here in Thomas Eye Hospital, providing excellence in healthcare, and Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Happy Smile. My guests have been Sami Jemfi, Andrew Ejapa Mensah, Issa Atta, Kofi Bento, Senyor Hosi, and Ben Boache. Have a good afternoon. This has been Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform.